In the Finger Lakes region of New York, it is partly sunny, quite warm, 87 degrees. We have gusty winds and a 50 chance of rain this afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to the Budweiser at the Glen, the second road course race of the year for these Winston Cup cars. The very first one at Riverside was won by Rusty Wallace. Now, joining me in the booth today is going to be Ned Jarrett, and Ned, Rusty won that race at Riverside. He's also the current point leader in Winston Cup competition, but it's the closest race in history.
Well, it is the closest point race in the history of Winston Cup racing, and it could change after today's race. It is that close. As we look at the top five in the point standings and where those drivers stood a year ago coming into this race, Dale Earnhardt had a 430-point lead. He had won 8 races at this point of the season. The point system rewards consistency, as evidenced in 1985 when Bill Elliott won 11 races but didn't win the championship. Now, Earnhardt is certainly still in the thick of the battle to win his third straight Winston Cup championship, but I think that Bill Elliott is poised for his first ever. He might have had a weakness in the past on the short tracks, but he's already won on the short track so far this year, so he's my pick to win the Winston Cup championship. He has 4 Winston Cup victories so far this year. Rusty Wallace only has 2, but the consistency has him on top, and he really wants that championship too. More on that with Dr. Jerry Punch.
Well, what a year Rusty Wallace has had. A phenomenal year for Rusty Wallace, but his fortunes all changed a year ago. It was right here in this exact pit area a year ago. Rusty Wallace had run out of fuel on the white flag lap. He coasted down the pit road. They put a dash of fuel in. The car sputtered. Then it refired. His car was down and away. And a phenomenal year he has had since then. He has been unbeatable on the road course. He has won 3 in a row. This win here, Riverside, California, and back at Riverside earlier this year. He is a tremendous force on the road courses. Rusty would like to win today. He needs to win today. He knows the upcoming events, the speedways, may belong to Elliott. The short tracks, well, they might belong to Earnhardt. So he needs to win where he can win, which may be here on the road course at Watkins Glen. Hopefully, Rusty will have the kind of day he had a year ago. Let's go further up pit road to my colleague, Larry Newman. Larry?
Well, Jerry, just before the cars fired out and they're leaving the pit area right now, I was standing on the grid around 5th, 6th, or 7th position. And I was thinking it was probably more appropriate that you, our racing broadcasting doctor, would have been there, because I felt like I was standing among hospital row. The guy who was supposed to be in the first bed in the 3rd row, he's not starting this race in that position. So we'll come back to that story. Ricky Rudd, who badly damaged the ligaments in his knee earlier in a racing crash, still says it hurts. The knee is heavily braced right now, but he was still able to get around this road course here at Watkins Glen. And then there's Harry Gant, who broke both the bones, the lower bones in his left leg, and he is driving with a cast. Despite that, he was able to shift. And Harry Gant, and now make that Neil Bonnet. Sorry about that. Neil Bonnet, despite all the medical problems that he has had over the last 2 seasons, if that weren't enough, he crashed heavily in the final practice session after yesterday afternoon's practice session. So Harry has caused himself double problems. But the 3 of them, despite all their problems, have been able to qualify in the top 10 here at Watkins Glen. Quite a tribute to their driving skills on this road course. Bob?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So we have some walking wounded among the starters, but they're just as determined as the others to win this very important race on the Winston Cup Tour. We'll introduce the 40 starters and take a look at this racetrack when we return to Watkins Glen. This area of the country has to be one of the most beautiful spots in all of the United States. Waterfalls near the racetrack, but the racetrack itself here in Watkins Glen, New York is a very demanding one. But historically, you have to start up front to win this race. As you can see, in 5 races here, 3 winners have started from the pole position, and no winner has started from lower than 3rd starting position. So 40 cars are on their warm-up lap, and here now is the starting lineup for today's race. On the pole with a new record of 120.501 is Jeff Bodine driving car number 5. Outside of that first row will be Rusty Wallace in the Kodiak Pontiac, car number 27. In the second row, it'll be Bill Elliott in car number 9. Outside of that second row, Terry Labonte in the Budweiser car number 11. Row number 3 has Ricky Rudd in the number 26 machine, and outside of that row will be Harry Gant in car number 33. In the 4th row will be Ken Schrader, and alongside him will be Morgan Shepherd driving car number 88, the one usually driven by Buddy Baker. Then it's Phil Parsons on the inside of row number 5, and to his outside will be the number 17 car driven by Darrell Waltrip. Richard Petty then will start with Kyle Petty along in row number 6. the 7th row consists of Sterling Marlin and Michael Waltrip. Starting in row number 8 is number 15, Brett Bodine, and 6, Mark Martin. In the 9th row, we'll have Dale Jarrett and Rick Wilson. Going to row number 10, it's Dave Marcus and Dale Earnhardt. In the 11th row, Alan Kowicki and Joe Ruttman. Row number 12 consists of Lake Speed and Bobby Hillin Jr. In the 13th row, Benny Parsons and Derek Cope. Row number 14 has Davey Allison and Rodney Combs. Jimmy Means and Mike Alexander start in row number 15. In the 16th row, it's Ernie Irvin and Jocko Majacomo. Row number 17, Ken Bouchard and Patty Moise. In the 18th row, it's Ronnie Saul and J.D. McDuffie. Row number 19, Herschel McGriff and Brad Knopfsinger. In the 20th row, it's Tom Rutzel and Neil Bonnet starting in car number 75, but it will be a yellow number 75, the backup car of Michael Waltrip. Well, this is a very historic racetrack, 2.4 miles in length, and the pole speed, as you can see, 120.501. The race length is 90 laps, the fuel range 35 to 40 laps. Ned Jarrett has a closer examination of this racetrack.
It's a demanding 7-turn road course here at Watkins Glen. The front straightaway, past the pits, and past the main grandstand. They're in 3rd gear, but as they head into turn 1, which is a relatively flat turn, 90 degrees, they shift back into 2nd. This is a turn you don't want to get in there too fast. Heading out of turn 1, a short straightaway into turn 2, they shift back into 3rd gear. Another right-hand turn, dips down on the inside, drifts back out to the wall on the outside, and then a left-hand turn.
And right here with that slight elevation change, the left front gets very light on the race car.
The front end kicks off the ground. And then the long straightaway, this is the only place on the track where they shift into 4th gear. They reach speeds of 165 to 170 miles an hour on this straightaway, and then head into one of the slowest turns on the course, turn number 5. This can be a trouble turn. They shift down into 2nd gear on that turn, and then accelerate very quickly back into 3rd gear, and this is the place where they really wind the engine out. It's very easy to over-rev the engine here depending on the gearing in the transmission. As they head into turn 6, they go into 2nd gear again.
And once again, throughout the afternoon, we'll see the left front of the car actually get off the racetrack, setting up for turn 7.
Turn 7, a very critical turn. They're in 2nd gear going here, but a lot of passing happens coming off of this turn as they head for home.
And so that's a lap around Watkins Glen International Racecourse. And as you can see, the 40 starters are on their pace lap now. And when they come by this time, hopefully we will be getting a start. Doyle Ford will be the official flagman for today's race. Harold Kinder, who has been the NASCAR starter for many, many years, is at home with recuperation from some finger surgery. We hope he's back real soon, but Doyle Ford is about to flag off his first Winston Cup event. He's been a flagman since 1958 and an apprentice to Harold Kinder. This is the first time he will be the official starter. Ned, what do we look for here in the start of this race as they go into that turn number 1?
Well, certainly either of these drivers would like to get the jump. Rusty Wallace in particular would like to lead this first lap and pick up a 5 bonus points from Winston for leading a lap. But he knows that Jeff Bodine is going to be ready for him. I look for a good hard start here. Be interesting going into turn 1.
I was talking to Rusty Wallace just after qualifications. Talk about a disappointed person. He was faster than Jeff Bodine in the practice, but Jeff somehow found 3/4 of a second that put him on the pole position for today's race. Let's see, however, how Rusty treats this start as the field comes off of corner number 7, and there is the green flag. The Budweiser at the Glen is underway. That's Darrell Waldrop on the left side of your screen trying to pass some cars going into turn number 1. Let's see how things shake out. It looks like that Jeff Bodine is going to win the battle to that first corner as they go through here 2 abreast.
Well, Bodine had the inside, and that's the place to be going into turn 1.
Harry Labonte has fallen into 3rd position as Darrell Waldrop is trying the inside of the racetrack in an effort to move up through the field. They go through corner number 2. Here is corner number 3. Now a very short straightaway heading uphill to corner number 4. You can see the field filing through here. Jeff Jeff Bodine is the leader, and look at Bill Elliott, who is challenging now Rusty Wallace for second. He has already passed Terry Labonte to move into third position. So we have Jeff Bodine, Rusty Wallace, and Bill Elliott. Then comes the number 11 car driven by Terry Labonte. So a good start for Bill Elliott, as he would like to show his prowess on a road course this afternoon.
Bill has run very well on this road course in the past, Bob, but he's never had any luck here. He's had problems of one sort or another, but he does run well here.
Looks like it's going to be a very clean first lap. You can see Dale Earnhardt there on the right side of your screen in the black car making a move as everybody else files through corner number 7 and completes lap number 1. It is a 90-lap race. That means just a little less than 200-mile go here this afternoon. Single file formation now into turn number 1 on this lap. The field stringing through. Looks like we had a nice clean start, Ned. I don't think any car got off the course, and some passing is still going on. That's Dave Marcus there in car number 71, passing the number 7 car driven by Alan Kowicki. And we're now inside the Dale Jarrett car. The Hardee's race cam providing some pictures for us. Looks like maybe a little oil dry there in that corner, Ned.
Yes, there was quite a bit of oil dry. I saw the dust as it went through that portion of the track the first time around, and it's still there. So that gives you a little bit of a vision blur as you go through there.
Road course racing, of course, is a left and right situation, and it also demands a lot of shifts. And you can see Dale Jarrett shifting gears right now as he downshifts going in to corner number 4.
And Bob, speaking of shifts, evidently Rodney Combs had a problem with his car. He's the first one in the pits. He's already out of the pits, but they had the car jacked up as if there was something wrong with the transmission lines.
Good close racing here as Rusty Wallace is right on the back bumper of Bodine. Let's see if he can make a pass. He looked to the inside there in turn number 7. And as you indicated, Ned, during your track description, that is one of the areas that we are likely to see a lot of passing. Corner number 7, coming out of that and then down the straightaway. But Rusty was unable to make the pass, and he is still in second position.
Bodine knows this track as well as anyone. He grew up about 20 miles from here in Chemung, New York, and watched a lot of races here as a kid, road races of various sorts, but or various types of cars, I should say, and has adapted to road racing very well. He always runs well at Riverside, and certainly has run well here on his home track.
Well, when he won the pole position, there was a big round of applause and a great cheer that went up throughout this race course, as he has brought many, many fans here to cheer him on in this Budweiser at the Glen. Rusty Wallace is in second, right behind Jeff Bodine. Then comes Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte. In 5th position is Ricky Rudd.
And those are the 5 best road racers in NASCAR. They've proven over the years that they can get the job done on a road course, and certainly they're doing it here today.
This is only the 6th Winston Cup race here at this facility. They raced first in 1957 with Buck Baker winning. Billy Wade won in 1964 and Marvin Panch in 65. The number 30 car of Michael Waltrip appears to be dragging something. Larry, what's the story in the pits?
Well, Bob, first of all, remember there are 2 number 30s in this race, or 2 cars that look like number 30. Of course, Neil Bonnet's car is number 75. But the last time that Michael went by the pit area here down near turn number 1 where I'm positioned, there was something dragging from the left tail. I can't tell what it is. It has not slowed the car down, however, and I have had no word from NASCAR officials that they are observing Michael.
All right, we definitely could see that too, Ned. Were you able to get a good view up to see what it was?
It was hard to tell. It looked like it was a tailpipe, but these cars don't have one of those, not in that portion of the race car. So I don't know, it could be just a piece of the bracing at the back end that has come loose. We have a report that car number 68, Derek Cope, has blown an engine.
Well, let's go down to the pit area and Jerry Punch.
We're with crew chief Mike Beam, the crew chief for Mike Waltrip. And Mike, what's the problem? Something dragging on the car?
Yes, the panel on the back that hooks the bumper to just a piece of frame. It's just a piece alone, and NASCAR said it'd be okay. It isn't any danger, you know, so they're going to let us run till we fit our first caution and we'll take it off.
So a break for Mike Waltrip. They will not bring the car down pit road. He will get a chance to run to the first yellow flag.
Now you can definitely see it dragging there as we go back up front and check on what's going on there. No change, basically. Jeff Bodine continues to lead with Rusty Wallace right on his back bumper and Bill Elliott running in 3rd position. We have always seen great competition on this road course here at Watkins Glen, and it looks like we're set up for more of the same this afternoon. We'll be right back with more. Back at Watkins Glen, New York, and it is Jeff Bodine who continues to lead this Budweiser at the Glen. Rusty Wallace runs second, followed by Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, and Ricky Rudd. Now there's the number 75 car of Neil Bonnet. He has been in and out of the pit area. Jerry Punch has the story.
Well, problems continue for Neil Bonnet. He just came in for an unscheduled stop, and I'm standing with Bob Verhilly, one of the car owners. And Bob, what's the problem?
It looked like I had a little oil leak, and we snugged up a couple lines, and I think that's what it was.
Well, a tough break for Neil Bonnet. Of course, they had to start a backup car, a car they didn't have here. They borrowed one from Mike Waltrip and Chuck Ryder, and now an oil leak and an overheating problem, we're told, so Bonnet may have a short day here at Watkins Glen.
All right, but a valiant effort from Neil Bonnet, as after that crash yesterday, there was some real question as to whether he himself would be fit to take part in this event. But he shook off the minor injuries that he had, and he's in that car right now. It doesn't look like the Valvoline number 75, but it is Neil Bonnet who's driving the car that was in the garage of Michael Waltrip.
And he went a lap down on that pit stop, Bob, so the pack of cars that he's running, and he's the only car at the moment that is one lap down.
So Neil Bonnet will try to move up through the field and try to catch up with these guys. Coming through corners number 2 and 3, the leaders. Jeff Bodine, Rusty Wallace right there on his back bumper, and they have pulled away just a little bit from third place Bill Elliott, although it still is very good competition up front. But Rusty Wallace and Jeff Bodine appear to be just about equally matched, and Rusty has been looking and trying for the past several laps to find that opportunity to pass Jeff Bodine, but so far he has not found it, and Jeff Bodine has led all laps so far with 10 complete.
Bob, it is very tough to pass on this racetrack. There are not many places that you can do it. You have to set someone up, and it looks like that Rusty has backed off just a little bit. It might be letting his engine cool a little bit because he was running so close to him, or it might be that he's going to back off, go a little slower through one of the turns, and then try to get a good jump and get up beside of him coming off of the turn. That's about the only way that you can pass here, unless you outbrake someone going into a turn. Then you take a chance of getting in there too fast.
All right, here he is on turn number 7. Let's see if he can do it this time. He's to the inside once again. Nope, pulls back in line.
I think what he had done there, going into 7, he backed off a little bit, tried to get more momentum coming off of the turn, but it didn't quite work that time. He'll work on it some more.
There you can see the first 5. Ricky Rudd running the green car in 5th position. In 6th is Ken Schrader. 7th is Darrell Waltrip. In 8th position is Morgan Shepherd. 9th position is Harry Gant, and in 10th is Richard Petty. Now, when we show you shots of the number 88 car, remember it is being driven this afternoon by Morgan Shepherd in substitution of Buddy Baker. Still, Rusty Wallace looks and tries for the lead.
Baker thought he had a better race car than he was able to get the car around here. And I'll tell you, it takes a lot of guts for a man to spin in racing as long as Buddy Baker has, to turn his car over to someone else that he thinks can do a better job of driving the car. But Buddy just doesn't have that much road track experience. And so he decided to turn it over to Morgan, and he wanted to try to go for a win.
Well, Jeff Bodine won the pole, and look out, we may have a pass for the lead here. Nope, can't get the job done as Rusty Wallace continues to try to move into the front spot, but just cannot do it. They come down the front stretch once again. Well, of course, Jeff Bodine with the top starting position. We asked him earlier the importance of starting up front.
It's important to start up front anywhere. You know, the obvious things. If there's an accident behind you, you're ahead of it. You miss it. Psychologically, it's good for the team. They say, hey, you're the fastest. That's great. They work a little harder. Makes you feel real good. Your competition's a little down. They go around with heads down a little bit because they ain't worth the fastest. Other than that, once you start these races, I mean, a guy running 10th can be the fastest car in the race. Just because you're the pole guy in qualifying doesn't mean you're going to be the fastest car in the race. So you have to watch out for that. You can't get too confident. You still have to go back in here and go to work and get ready to race.
All right, so there is Neil Bonnet in the pits once again. Once again, we go to Jerry Punch.
Problems continue for Neil Bonnet. The Bessemer, Alabama driver brings the Valvoline Pontiac back on pit road. Again, it is overheating. They are continuing to have troubles. The car missing significantly on the backstretch. The car was running very slowly. He just was able to creep back to pit road. They put some water in it, taped a couple of cloths around the front of the engine compartment, and Bonnet certainly having his troubles. He will be able to go back out, but how long he stays is anybody's guess.
So tough luck for Neil Bonnet as he sits in the pit area and waits for the repairs to hopefully be made on this car that will allow him to get back to competition.
And coming into the pits now is Morgan Shepherd. This would be an unscheduled pit stop for him. He was running in the top 10 before he came in the pits, and we'll see if we can pick him up. There he is, Morgan Shepherd, coming into the pits, and they're going to the left side to change those tires, and this is earlier than he should be coming in, Bob. Tires should not be a great problem here. Of course, it's possible that he ran over something and cut one, and that's what put Neil Bonnet into the wall in practice yesterday. He blew the left front going into one of the turns. Morgan Shepherd will be able to get back out and stay in the lead lap. However, we mentioned earlier that Rodney Combs had made an unscheduled pit stop. He's been back in since then. Rodney has gone a lap down.
Just a great effort by Morgan Shepherd in qualifying that car for 9th position at 118.942 miles an hour. By the way, the first 18 cars broke the previous track record, led, of course, by Jeff Bodine. Well, when you talk about, we have a spin involving Ken Bouchard in car number 10. Ken Bouchard has slid off course in turn number 1, trying to get the car back onto the racetrack. When he finds the traffic clear, he will do so. There he is going back out onto the course, but Ken Bouchard has lost several positions by spinning down in corner number 1.
That's where the leaders are headed right now, is down into turn 1. Of course, he spun off the track, Bob, and it should not have affected them. There he is back out on the racetrack. He's some 4 or 5 seconds ahead of them, and as that was happening, Patty Maurice, the only lady driver in the field, was coming into the pits. She has gone a lap down. It's a 4-tire change for her.
And still up front, it is a good battle. Now Terry Labonte has gone into 3rd position, and Bill Elliott has dropped a couple of spots, as a matter of fact. That's Bodine in the number 5, 27. The green and white car is Rusty Wallace. The number 11 red and white machine is driven by Terry Labonte. And here's another spin. This is the number 31 car driven by Joe Ruttman, the Slender U Figure Salon Oldsmobile that has gotten off course and kicked up some dust.
Morgan Shepherd went by him there. Of course, Ruttman, an accomplished road racer. He has a lot of experience and winning experience in Riverside, California. He grew up in Upland, California, about 15 miles from the track. Let's see if we can pick up Joe Ruttman's spin, Dale Jarrett's Harges machine, as Mark Martin moves around Dale Jarrett. And there you see Ruttman getting off course, going into the turn and sliding around out on the grass.
And I believe we've had a change of position here. Rusty Wallace has gone into the lead, and Terry Labonte is going to move to 2nd position, dropping Jeff Bodine back to 3rd. Rusty Wallace takes over the lead. Labonte 2nd. Now Jeff Bodine is 3rd, followed by Ricky Rudd in the green car. So Wallace is in the lead.
Well, he was just waiting for an opportunity, and all Jeff Bodine had to do was make one little slip, and Rusty was there ready to make the pass. Now, they've been running awfully hard since the green flag dropped off, and they're getting those tires awfully hot. They punish the tires a lot here, sliding them through the turns, and as they heat up, here's another spin. That's Phil Parsons.
I think this could be an incident of contact with the guardrail. Maybe not, but Phil Parsons is close to that Armco barrier there on the left. If he did not hit it, he came very, very close. Phil Parsons in car number 55. Gets things going once again, and yeah, I think he did have at least slight contact with the barrier.
Yeah, it looked like the left rear part of the quarter panel was bent in a little bit, but he has her going again.
Well, that's one of the nice things about a road course. You can slide sometimes a great distance to reduce your speed before you do come in contact with any kind of a barrier. So the damage to that car, not quite as much as it would have been perhaps on an oval. You see some cars on the left side of your screen making some pit stops. Meanwhile, the leaders continue on the racetrack as we'll begin to see some pit stops around the 30 lap mark. Rusty Wallace is the leader in the Kodiak Pontiac, and here is Bill Elliott in the pits, Ned.
He was one of those cars that was coming into the pits. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Well, Ned, remember that Bill was dropping back. He was running comfortably in the top 3. He saw a couple of people like Ricky Rudd go by him. So they're first of all going to the left side because we run clockwise here. That's the tires that get the most abuse here on this road course. Now they're going to the other side, the right side of the car. It's a 4-tire change on Bill Elliott.
We have Benny Parsons off course. I don't know whether he has spun or whether the car has just quit running on him.
I think the car's quit running on him. I think he has an engine blown on that car. It's tough luck for Benny. Boy, he has had a tough year in 1988.
Well, he really is. Judy Donlevy car and Benny Parsons have not been as successful a combination as we had hoped it would be. And Benny's Bullseye Barbecue car, number 90, is off the racetrack, and the yellow flag has come out. Doyle Ford, the official starter, waves the yellow flag, and we have a full course yellow now to perhaps clean up some oil that was laid down by Benny Parsons. Here, meanwhile, limping into the pits is Bill Parsons.
Well, he stayed out on the racetrack and went on around, but he certainly welcomes this if he can get back. You can see that he has a flat tire on that car. The left front is flat. If he can get back around, he stayed in the lead lap after we saw him up against the guardrail a little bit earlier. And if he can get back and catch up to the field, he can stay in the lead lap. But sometimes a tire flapping like that can do a lot of damage to the front end of him.
And you can see that Rusty Wallace now, the leader, has come in for a pit stop. Looks like they're pulling the sheet metal away from the left rear tire of that car, but the leader, when we went yellow, Rusty Wallace, now is for service in the pit area. Back with more right after this in Watkins Glen. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Larry Nuber, and Jerry Punch back at Watkins Glen International Raceway, and we have had some excitement in the opening laps. We are under a full course caution at the moment because of a blown engine by Benny Parsons, but Jeff Bodine led the early going, and then it was Rusty Wallace's turn to come from second position and pass Jeff Bodine.
Bodine just opened the door and left. Going into the turn, Rusty slipped in there. He'd been waiting for that opportunity since the green flag dropped, and he moved right around, and looked like Rusty maybe scraped the rail just a little bit as we saw the dust fly.
Benny Parsons also with a problem as we got the shot from Dale Jarrett's car, the in-car. There's Benny on the right side of your screen. You can see the big puff of smoke coming from that car, and a fire, as a matter of fact. And at that point, Benny Parsons pulled the car off the racetrack, perhaps sliding in his own oil just a little bit. He's pulled off the track now, and that's the reason for the full course yellow. Well, let's go for a further report to the pit area. Here's Jerry.
Well, Bill Parsons just came in a minute ago in the Skoal Classic Oldsmobile. His left front tire was completely shredded. They had to hold the car up before they could get a jack under to jack the car up and change tires. A big concern here in the pits has developed in the last 3 or 4 laps. We've seen a number of cars spin. We saw an unscheduled pit stop for Morgan Shepherd. The problem, well, it's tires. The left rear tire that came off of Morgan Shepherd's Red Baron Pizza Oldsmobile was completely blistered. Likewise, the tire that came off Rusty Wallace's car was also blistered. In fact, Raymond Beadle told me a minute ago if the yellow had not come out, it wouldn't have made any difference. And Rusty was going to pit the next time by anyway because he thought he had a left rear tire going down, or at least coming apart. And indeed it was, completely coming apart. So was Jeff Bodine's left rear. So concerns about tire wear already here in the pits. Let's go to Larry Nuber.
Well, Jerry, I'm standing by in champion Dale Earnhardt's pit. He does not have a blistering problem that has developed down here, but this is the tire that just came off of one of the 4 corners, and you can see these 2 holes. This tire has been bullseyed, but for some reason it kept its air, and Dale did not report back to the crew that he had a tire going down. So this tire remained kept its integrity, didn't go down, but it obviously had some abuse.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So tires playing an important factor in the early going of this race. We are under caution at Watkins Glen International Racecourse, and we'll be right back with more of the Budweiser at the Glen. We are back at Watkins Glen, and the caution flag remains out. The field is in single file formation under reduced speed because of the blown engine suffered by the Benny Parsons car, and they're cleaning up the racetrack at the moment. Have to get all the oil and the moisture up off the surface before we go green again. There's the number 88 car, driven by Morgan Shepherd. We're affectionately calling him our NASCAR nomad. Look at the number of cars that he has been in just this year. 6 different cars. He's a designated driver, and his name is certainly at the top of the list among many teams for 1989 because every car that he's been in this year, Bob, he has run very, very well. But there's a lot of speculation going on in the garage area, who's going to do what. In fact, I think there's more speculation on who is going to be in what car in 1989 than there is about who George Bush is going to choose as his running mate this weekend. Well, it seems like that when one driver makes a choice, that's going to cause a chain reaction and a domino effect. And I think perhaps that domino effect will start when Morgan Shepherd does make his decision. Jerry Punch reports from the pit area.
Well, what you're taking a look at here are 2 tires off 2 of the lead cars. The tire on my left is the left rear tire off Jeff Bodine's car during this last caution flag. You see rubber coming off the tire. This is a scuffed tire. Now, this tire is supposed to be cured and a little bit harder than a brand new tire. It already is coming apart early in the race. This, on the other hand, is the left rear tire off the Rusty Wallace car. So both these tires coming apart. The exact same picture on Morgan Shepherd's car a few minutes ago when he made an unscheduled stop. Likewise, the left rear tire showing a tremendous amount of wear and rubber peeling away. So possibly trouble early with tire wear here at Watkins Glen.
All right, we might mention that there are all Goodyear tires here this weekend. The hoop test was performed on the Hoosier tires, as they were several weeks ago. And the Hoosiers were determined to be a little bit too wide, so they were not allowed to compete here. Now let's take a look at our pit stop summary. The drivers came in on lap number 13. You can see there wasn't much movement. Wallace lost a position. Terry Labonte gained a position. Jeff Bodine stayed the same. And Ricky Rudd really was the man who suffered the most in that pit stop as he dropped from 4th way back to 18th.
Evidently, they did some extra work on his car, the Quaker State Buick car. He would not have lost that much time.
And there is Neil Bond in the number 75 car. He has been in and out of the pits frequently during the first 14 laps of this race, but he is back out there in competition right now. We'll be back with more after this. The one-lap signal had been given to the field. However, we're going to go at least one more under caution before we get back to racing at Watkins Glen International Raceway and Speed World's coverage of the Budweiser at the Glen. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, more preseason NFL activity as the teams from the Keystone State, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, will definitely be in competition tonight here on ESPN Live at 8 o'clock. Well, we'll attempt to raise Rusty Wallace here on the radio and see how things are going for him. Rusty, this is Bob Jenkins. You got a copy?
Yeah, Bob, go ahead. I got you.
Rusty, some real great racing there. Before the yellow came out, you were able to get around Jeff Bodine. Have you got more, do you think, than Jeff has in the car this afternoon?
Well, I definitely had a lot more Jeff had. He was really holding me back, but just as soon as I got past Jeff, I had a left front flat, so that made it look bad. The caution flag came just at the right time, I'll tell you that, because I was getting ready to pit that lap.
All right, what about Terry Labonte that you got in front of you right now? Can you get around him pretty quickly?
I don't know, Bob. It depends what kind of tires he's got on and how he's doing. I really feel like we got a real superior car. It's just a matter of taking care of the race car. I've already led a lap. I got my 5 points. I just want to do everything right. Jeff's real hungry behind me, so I'd like to get to head of Terry so I can just go ahead and get out of town. But right now we've got a lot of oil in the very last turn. They're going to have NASCAR cars to clean that up. We'll just see how the race goes.
One last thing, Rusty. Happy birthday. That's one reason why I know you want to win this race so bad.
Yeah, I really do. You know, this will be the 4th consecutive if I do win. That'll tie the record that Dan Gurney set forth. And, you know, that's pretty important. That's pretty historical. But I really want to win it for the crew. Those guys have done an excellent job, and we'll see what happens.
We'll let you get back to work. Best of luck.
Thank you.
32nd birthday today for Rusty Wallace. So the young man from Fenton, Missouri would very much like to win for that reason, among others. We have completed 17 laps and the caution remains out, so there must be quite a bit of oil out there on the racetrack that has prevented us from going on green. Let's go down to Larry Newber, who's in Bill Elliott's pit area.
Well, you know, Bob, we commented that Bill came in just before the yellow officially flew, and there was very good reason. He had a badly blistered tire. Matter of fact, I saw blisters on all 3. You had a conversation with a Goodyear person. What'd they say?
They said wasn't anything they could do about it, and who anticipated that the problems that we're going to have. And that's the thing. Why didn't this show up in practice? You know, we ran a lot of practice laps and don't understand why it didn't show up. And then you get into the race, and here we've only just run a little more than 10 laps into the race, and we've got blistered tires. And then another thing that the driver's concerned about is so much debris on the racetrack. If you cut a tire down, blow a tire like Bonnet did yesterday in practice, then you're out of it.
And Bob, something else that Dan told me, all the crews are echoing this. The yellow flag came out at just the right time. Everybody was planning on coming in.
All right, thank you, Larry. We'll continue to watch this tire situation, which apparently is playing a very big fact in the opening stages of this race. One other important thing in Winston Cup racing is being organized. Here is a track fact. Track facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
You're looking at a random collection of chassis and suspension parts that you would find on pit road at any Winston Cup race throughout the year. If a car would have a problem, the team would come over and hurriedly try to sort through this pile of parts and determine what they need to use. Well, one team has gone a little bit better. They've organized this pile of parts onto a special board here. Everything is tied up specifically. They have a drag link, ball joints, they have shock absorbers, track bars, strut arms, everything tied up very neatly so it can be found very quickly. They say organization breeds success. Take a look at whose team this is. It speaks for itself. 3 Winston Cup titles.
at Watkins Glen International Raceway. The top 10 at the moment. In the lead is Terry Labonte, second Rusty Wallace, third Bodine, fourth is Elliott, and Ken Schrader is fifth. We'll be right back. The yellow remains out at Watkins Glen. However, as you can see, the lights on top of the pace car are out, and that means that this time around, they will be receiving the green flag, and we will be getting back to action. Now, there's the number 26 car driven by Ricky Rudd. Either our information was incorrect or he has been able to make up several positions, because Ricky Rudd is not back in 18th spot. I believe he is 6th out there on the field.
Yes, he is 6th on the field, and I think he came out in that position because under the caution flag runs, Bob, they cannot make up positions on the field, so that's where he came out of the pits.
So Ricky Rudd is poised, as are the others, to stand on the accelerator and restart this Budweiser at the Glen.
And Bob, before they restart, let's let the fans know that Bill Elliott and Gordon Shepard did not lose laps when they made pit stops during the green flag. You can do that here on the road course and not lose a lap, so they're still in the lead lap.
While we have the opportunity, hurry back, Bobby Allison, who is continuing to recuperate near his home in Bessemer, Alabama. And Bobby, this is our first race that we have televised on ESPN since your injuries. We miss you, and we hope that you'll be back with us very soon. And from all indications, the progress that Bobby Allison has made has been nothing less than phenomenal.
And certainly we're very happy about that. And I feel we're going to see him back behind the wheel of a race car next year at least.
Or at least in the cockpit of an airplane, because I know he enjoys flying just about as much as he does racing.
He sure does.
Okay, they're in single file formation now. Let's keep a close eye on the restart to see if anybody perhaps tries to gain an advantage by jumping the start and passing cars before they receive the green flag. The pace quickens coming out of corner number 7. We are back to racing, and it's lap number 19.
Boy, it didn't take Rusty Wallace long to get up through the gearbox. Going into turn 1, he's on the inside.
And he's got the lead going into turn 1. Rusty passes Terry Labonte. Wallace leads. Labonte is second. That's Jeff Bodine running there in third position. Those 3 cars have certainly been the dominant ones here in the first 19 laps of this race. And right now, Rusty Wallace is the leader. That is Bill Elliott running there in fourth position behind Jeff Bodine.
And of course, Elliott was very strong in the first part of the race. Then we saw him drop back a little bit. Of course, we know the reason now, that he had blistered a tire. And Bob, I mentioned at the top of the show that tires should not be a problem here today, but already we've seen some tire problems. A little unusual on a road course.
Well, it is very hot here this afternoon, and the sun is, although not shining brightly, it's certainly creating enough of a heat maybe on the racetrack that could be a very definite cause of the tire problems that we have had. There's some good close racing going on. Darrell Waltrip and Sterling Marlin, as Marlin looked to the inside of Darrell and trying to pass him, but now falls back behind Darrell. 44 car driven by Sterling Marlin. That is the battle for 7th and 8th position. Now here's Darrell trying to take a position away, and doing so from Ricky Rudd. As a matter of fact, and here comes Rudd into the pit, so something went wrong with Rudd's car. Here he is moving in.
Tire going down or something. That's certainly an unscheduled pit stop for him. We'll follow him into the pits and see what they do to the car. And they are going to the left side to change those tires. So evidently he had a tire going down.
And it happened right there as he lost the positions in turn 7. And when Darrell Waltrip and Sterling Marlin shot by, he dove to the inside and came into the pits for the stop. Now let's see if they go to the right side of the car and change rubber there also. Yes, indeed, they are. So it's a 4-tire change for Ricky Rudd. Let's go to Larry Newber for a report on the tire situation.
Well, Ned, you know, before the race, all the drivers to a man were talking about what will win or lose this race is brakes and brake abuse, and how one driver can save brake perhaps a little more than the other. Now, Ned, with all these tire problems, it really multiplies that brake situation, because as tires go away, apparently there's a possibility every 10 laps as Terry Labonte now takes over the lead. As tires go away, perhaps periodically, the drivers are going to have to use the brakes even more than they had planned before the race, as we see also Jeff Bodine now make a move up. That's really going to put a premium on brakes, Ned, and even more so than all the drivers predicted that brakes would determine the outcome of this race. They could really do so now.
No question about that, Larry, and it could be that Rusty Wallace is realizing that and backing off a little bit. I don't believe that he has a major problem. We'll wait and see, but I believe that he's just cooling a little bit now that he has led those couple of laps. He has the 5 bonus points for leading laps.
Well, that's a good point. Rusty has lost 2 positions, make that 3 positions, falling all the way back to 4th spot, but maybe he is just playing a little bit cautious here, conserving the tires, conserving the brakes, and then waiting for the opportune moment to make the charge late in the event. Racing going on here. That's Kyle Petty in the white, red, and blue car to the left as he passes Harry Gannon. Of course, that story earlier this week, a big one in Winston Cup competition, as Kyle Petty and the Wood brothers have announced their separation for 1989.
Kyle's certainly not holding anything back right now. He wants to be impressive to any other car owners that might be looking at what's going on there, because he is looking for a ride.
Well, let's replay how Ricky Rudd lost 2 positions very quickly. Watch Darrell Waltrip and Sterling Marlin go inside to pass.
Ricky, it looked like that he might have locked the brakes up for just a moment. The car got a little bit squirrely. It was weaving back and forth. He had to get it slowed down before he started making the turn, and that was just enough of opening for Waltrip and Marlin to go by.
Rudd, of course, came in for a 4-tire change, back out on course right now. Terry Labonte, Jeff Bodine, Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, Ken Schrader, Darrell Waltrip, then Sterling Marlin and Kyle Petty. That's the way they're running. So there is Darrell Waltrip in the Tide Machine, car number 17. This racetrack, in fact, is very happy to race here.
It's a smaller track, a lot of Armco around the racetrack. It really gets your attention, especially a guy like me that's kind of been off the course at Riverside a lot of times and out in the dirt and able to get back on and keep going. You can't do that here. This track's pretty narrow and it's pretty well protected as far as guardrail is concerned. So I think that's probably the thing that keeps me from being any quicker here than I am a lot of times. It's just the fact I know if I go off, I'm going to hit something. You hit something, you're out of the race. So I try to use a little bit different technique here than I do maybe at Riverside.
Those are the comments from Darrell Waltrip. Here's Rusty Wallace moving inside once again, looking inside, not able to make a move on Bill Elliott, who is running right ahead of him. But Rusty Wallace certainly has shown himself to be one of the strongest cars on the track, but he has fallen back now to a 4th position as we have completed 23 of the 90 laps here at the Budweiser at the Glen. An enormous amount of people on hand for this event. The stands are very nearly full, and there are just thousands of people in the infield.
Certainly one of the prettiest racetracks on the circuit, and as you mentioned at the top of the show, a pretty part of the country to come to. And there are a lot of Southern fans that come up here because they don't get to see road racing in the South. Here we see Kyle Petty continue on the charge. He's really putting the Sitco forward up through the field.
Let's go for a report from Jerry Punch.
A lot of concern on pit road about the tire wear. I'm with crew chief Barry Dotson, the man who runs the pits for Rusty Wallace. And Barry, your man has dropped back a little bit. Have you told him to cool his jets a little bit about the tires?
We told him to cool it. You know, he was the first to want to do it. We had a problem while ago with the left sides. I think just about everybody did. We told him we've already led a lap. Let's take it easy. We were taking it easy when we had a problem. Hopefully it'll get better. Goodyear's working on it, and we're working as hard as we can on it. We're just taking it easy.
Well, the Goodyear engineers have been here looking at all the tires. Let's go up pit road to Larry Newman. Larry?
Well, Jerry, one of the drivers and teams that have not led a lap yet today, Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond's tie group. Now, because you guys have not led a lap, it seems like everybody else may be backing off just a little bit, concerned about tires. Will you guys go to the front?
No, right now, basically, we're probably going to do about the same thing. Tires, you push the car a little too hard, look like they're going to tear up. So we're going to kind of pace ourselves, let everybody else maybe kind of fall by the wayside, maybe get an easy lap to lead. It's a little too early ready to go ahead and go up there and really press it hard, because I think the track conditions will get better, and hopefully the tires will get less and less critical as the day goes on.
Jeff, on the super speedways recently, you guys have been Mr. Speed. You have been the man to beat. Does Darrell feel like he has a fast car again today?
He told me earlier in the day that the car was really working good, and he was pacing himself. He said, this is the best it's been. He said, I've never had one drive this good so far at Watkins. So hopefully, we can stay out of trouble. and guess right on the tires and make a good stop here and there. We'll be able to get up front and maybe win us a race.
The Darrell Waltrip comeback continues, Bob and Ned.
All right, he is running in 8th position at the moment, Darrell Waltrip, and we saw Rusty Wallace trying to assert himself just a little bit in that corner, but perhaps just looking because he continues to run in that 4th position. There's Jeff Bodine, who is second to the leader, Terry Labonte. Bill Elliott is third, and then comes Rusty Wallace. Back with more from Watkins, Glen, New York, after these messages. It's a very busy pit road at Watkins Glen as we're under a caution once again because of an accident involving Jeff Bodine. Here's the pit work, though, on the Rusty Wallace car as they change rubber on the right side. Jerry Punch is there.
Well, they've already changed left side tires, right side tires on it, and you got to be very careful as Rusty just about gets center punched by Joe Ruttman as they're coming out of pit road, and a lot of action on pit road, a very tight pit road. A couple of cars trying to pit, and cars are being stuck now as Ruttman can't get his car into his pit area. Morgan Shepherd is there. Mark Martin's car is there. Extremely congested area here on pit road, and here's Jerry again trying to slide by. Mark Martin just about taps him, gets his car sideways. I tell you, I wouldn't want to be down here and try to work out there. A tough way to do it here on a Sunday afternoon.
Well, as you can see, the action calms down just a little bit as most of the cars have completed their service and get back out onto the racetrack. But boy, we saw some real heavy action there in the pits. This is the story and the reason that we are under caution. Jeff Bodine has crashed, and apparently he blew a tire, broke the suspension. The car came in contact with the Armco barrier. This is how it happened.
Of course, Jeff was running, in the 3rd position, and you can see that he went off of the track there for just a moment as the tire went down, and then apparently the suspension broke on it and sent him over into the guardrail.
You could see that the what appeared to be a tire coming apart, although that could have been some grass and dust kicked up. In any case, Jeff Bodine is against the guardrail and is awaiting the tow truck to get him out of that position. Meanwhile, our second full course caution period of the afternoon is upon us. We are at lap number 26 out of 90. That will make up the Budweiser at the Glen. So the second series of pit stops have been held, but it will be a while before we get the Jeff Bodine car off this racetrack. We'll take this break. Well, here is the rescue action at the Jeff Bodine car as the wreckers and the ambulances have arrived on the scene. He appears to be in okay condition. We will again show you what happened as Jeff Bodine got off course and then into the guardrail.
It looks like that a piece of tire might have blown off of his car there, Bob, and he got him over in the grass, and then it looked like he had it under control for just a moment, and then he slams into the guardrail on the left side. Of course, that's very close to the driver over there as well, because I'm sure that he had braced himself for that.
So Jeff Bodine is at the scene of the crash, and there is his wife, who appears to be in pretty good spirits, obviously knowing that her husband was not injured in this crash. And as you can see, this is definitely Jeff Bodine country, as his hometown is not too far away from here, Chemung, New York. And while we're still talking about those that we wish were here, Bobby Allison certainly on that list, and he has visited Victory Lane many times, of course, in Winston Cup competition. Has never won here at this particular racetrack, but he is part of our Winston Cup replay for this weekend. Winston Cup replays are brought to you by Purolator, the first name in filters. For Pure Oil now and Pure Oil later, it's Purolator. 1974, Winston Cup at Ontario, California Motor Speedway. Bobby Allison was driving for Roger Penske. A.J. Foyt was there. Richard Petty would start from pole position. When the green dropped, Foyt in yellow would challenge Petty for the early lead, with David Pearson watching from third. That red, white, and blue number 12 is Allison in fourth in the AMC Matador. The record-setting pace in the first half of the event will be slowed by Buddy Baker's crash off turn 4. As the grind continued on the track, identical to Indianapolis, Penske watched as Bobby brought the Matador in for a pit stop. This late race caution slowed the pace once again, and it would bring in those running up front. Foyt was in for tires and fuel, and Petty made a brief visit. When racing resumed, Allison fought it out with Foyt, who had won here 2 years ago. But AJ would need an extra pit stop, costing him a chance at victory. And the attrition rate continued. Richard dropped out late with a mechanical problem. Allison then was home free. It would be one of 4 wins for the Allison Penske team. Hurry back, Bobby. We want to see you again in victory lane. And there is son Davey, who continues to be in this race. And again, Bobby gets well soon. We hope to see you before the end of the year. Back with more from the Budweiser at the Glen right after this. So a bit of a surprise, but Michael Waltrip is the car first back of the pace car. Our highlights so far, well, Rusty Wallace was running in second position, trying desperately to pass Jeff Bodine. He finally found the opportunity. A little bump there with Jeff, and Rusty Wallace took the lead, became the second leader of the afternoon. Benny Parsons, watch on the right side, a big puff of smoke and some flame as Benny Parsons has engine problems. We were watching from Dale Jarrett's in-car camera. Benny Parsons brought out a caution. Then Ricky Rudd in the green car has a problem. Darrell Waltrip passes him. So does the 44 car of Sterling Marlin. And Ricky Rudd dips into the pit area for a stop. Then Jeff Bodine at the top of your screen has a problem. The car is off course, and he makes contact with the Armco barrier. And that's the reason why we are under caution with Michael Waltrip in the lead.
Michael made a very good pit stop, or did not stop at all. Practically everybody came into the pits, but he had made a green flag pit stop not too long before this caution came out. So apparently he did not figure he needed to come into the pits, or maybe so only for gasoline. So that put him at the head of the pack.
All right. I believe we're seeing Rusty Wallace in 4th position. Rusty, this is Bob again. You're back there in 4th, and we saw some cars pass you. Was that because you're just laying back and letting them race for it?
Yeah, that's about the size of it, Bob. I just don't want to abuse the tires. Like I said earlier, I've already let a lap. I don't want to let those guys just run me too hard. The car's running perfect. We don't have any problems. I'm just taking it easy.
Rusty, is there any speculation as to what can be causing this tire problem? We've seen it on many cars so far in this race.
Well, I really don't know, Bob. It's kind of a hot day out today, and that's really hard on tires. We need a little bit of overcast skies to help the situation out. So I'm just going to let it up to the crew right now to figure out what they think the best thing to do about it, and I'll just drive the car.
All right, Rusty, we'll continue to keep an eye on you. Yep. So the caution remains out as we are nearly 1/3 through this race. There is the car of Jeff Bodine. He's still sitting in it. I have a feeling that he's just getting a free ride home, and the crew may take a look at that car, bend out the sheet metal, put some new tires on it, and we could see Jeff Bodine back in this race in just a few minutes. We're at Watkins Glen International Raceway for ESPN Speed World, live coverage of the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. We have a very busy schedule here as far as Winston Cup competition is concerned. We will televise all but 2 races the rest of the season. The lights above the pace car are out. The 1 more lap signal is being given, and next time around we should get a green flag.
Lake Speed making a late pit stop here as the 1 lap signal comes out. It looked like there was some smoke coming from the right rear of the car, but they're going under the hood on Lake Speed's car. He's one of the drivers who has won on the Winston Cup circuit this year. We saw him win here on ESPN at Darlington. Several other cars making pit stops. And speaking of Darlington, while they're coming around to get the green flag, Bob, in this race today is Herschel McGriff, who is over 60 years old, is still a very, very good race driver. He wanted to come east and run this race, and then he's going to run Darlington. He hasn't been there since 1954. He ran in the first Southern 500 back in 1950. And going back there after 24 years, he wants to go back there in his U.S. Bank.
Boy, that will be really something to see. We'll look forward to that on Labor Day weekend. Here's Jerry Punch with Barry Dotson.
Well, they're continuing to try to solve the tire problem here in the pits, and Barry Dotson and the rest of the Kodiak team, along with Raymond Beadle, their car owner, has just met with the Goodyear engineers, and they've tried to decipher what you can do. What do they tell you to do?
Well, they told us exactly what we did on the pit stop. Put scuffed tires on the car if we can, and we're going to do that because we got a good car. And they said, until you accumulate enough scuffs, if you can, at least put a scuff on the left rear. We're doing that. They're doing all they can, and I hate we got a problem. The problem's getting better. Hopefully we'll get rid of it here.
Well, they're searching for scuffed tires now, trying to find tires that have been run before, taken off, and cooled down. That's what they're going to try to do here in the Wallace pit. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Jerry, on a little cheerier subject, this once again has been a very competitive Winston Cup year, and we've seen new winners. People have won Winston Cup races for the first time, Lake Speed and Kenny Schrader this year. And despite those people who have won for the first time, there have been 5 people who have finished second who have never won a Winston Cup race. And one of those 5, who has finished second this year, never winning a Winston Cup race, is leading this race right now. The Country Time Lemonade number 30 of Michael Waltrip.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens, Larry, when the green flag does come out. You would think that perhaps some of the cars behind him, like Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, and Ken Schrader, and Alan Kowicki, and Dale Earnhardt, and Darrell Waltrip, as we continue to go back of him, perhaps would be looking for an opportunity to pass it very quickly. But on the other hand, he may accelerate quickly and and get off to a good start.
Michael's a pretty good road racer, no question about it, and certainly he likes to see himself up front, a little extra exposure for his sponsor, but Bill Elliott will be trying. I don't think he's led yet today, and he'll be trying to get up here and lead a lap because that 5 bonus points is going to mean a lot at the end of the season.
Larry ended Michael's best finish of the year, a second at Pocono. The green flag comes out. Here we go. Back to racing. Good battle for second. Michael Waltrip does indeed hold on to the lead. He will into turn number 1. Yeah, but watch that battle for second. Labonte inside and Elliott outside. Elliott makes the move and has second position. Labonte third. Here comes Rusty Wallace, and that is Darrell Waltrip. They're in the orange and yellow Tide machine alongside with Dale Earnhardt. So a couple of old veterans and friends slugging it out here. Dale Earnhardt now with the advantage, and now Sterling Marlin in the 44 car runs alongside of Darrell Waltrip.
Dale Earnhardt started back in 21st position here today. Pit stops has helped to get him up there in the front pack.
All right, they go down the backstretch, and now we do have a change of lead as Elliott has gone into the lead. But look at this battle between Sterling Marlin and Darrell Waltrip. They have been together just about all afternoon. You remember a few laps ago when they were running with Ricky Rudd, and now here they are together on the racetrack again. Darrell Waltrip and Sterling Marlin. Look up front, though. That's Bill Elliott, who has passed Michael Waltrip and taken the lead. So Elliott will get credit if he crosses the line this time, leading 5 bonus points.
Michael Waltrip doing a good job of staying in there with those front runners. First time today he's had an opportunity to be up there with them, but here's Terry Labonte now trying to make a move on him as they get into turn 1.
Now let's watch Labonte side by side with Michael. Labonte passes, and Labonte is second, dropping Michael Waltrip back to third. Waltrip, a young race driver, and perhaps not with that much experience on run courses, but boy, he is looking very, very fine running with Wallace and Bill Elliott and Terry Labonte and others.
Well, he does not have the experience that Labonte and Elliott, Rusty Wallace have on road courses, but he likes the road courses. He likes to throw a car around. Now, here's Wallace trying to make a move on him.
See if Wallace can move into third spot at the end of the back stretch. Side by side they go. Wallace trying to make the move. Now Michael drifting a little bit high and allowing Rusty to pass. So Rusty moves to third. Now Michael Waltrip is in 4th position. And now Ken Schrader will look for an opportunity to pass Michael Waltrip. Schrader there, the 25 car.
He doesn't have as much experience either as some of those other drivers we talked about earlier, but he was a good dirt track driver before coming on the Winston Cup circuit. And I think someone who can drive on dirt also makes a good road racer.
Well, that's a good point because certainly Rusty Wallace grew up and got a lot of experience on the dirt tracks before he came to the Winston Cup competition, and he is the king of the road courses, so to speak. Wallace now in third. Michael Waltrip is in 4th position. Then comes Schrader, and then Dale Earnhardt, who hasn't run way up front yet, but has been in the top 10 all race long.
Especially starting as far back as he did. He worked his way up through there on the racetrack, and he picked up more positions actually in the pits, Earnhardt did, than he has picked up on the racetrack. But that's the part of the racing game, is getting in and out of the pits. And Richard Childress and his crew, they're no better on the circuit.
And you can see that Ken Schrader did pass Michael Waltrip. Now Dale Earnhardt in the black number 3 car will look for a chance to do so. Michael has dropped back to 5th position. Here comes Earnhardt, though, to the inside, going into the corner. Side by side with Michael. They run through there. Now Elliott, rather Earnhardt, coming out of the corner, grabs the advantage, and he, too, passes Michael Waltrip.
Michael's tires are not quite as new as the others because, as we mentioned, during the caution, he had made a green flag pit stop and everybody else came in the pit, so that left him up front, car number 30. Let's go to Larry Newbern to pit.
Well, Ned, in my informal canvas of the pit area, I have found one of the potential front runners of this race who has not had tire problems, and that could be significant if that lasts all day long. This man finished third at Riverside. He's a very good road racer. They've had a struggle this year. He's right now ranked 6th in short track points. It's Ricky Rudd. Let's keep our eye on Ricky. They say no tire problems, at least like the other teams have had so far.
Well, Ricky is certainly one of the smoothest drivers on any racetrack, and smoothness on a road course pays off. It certainly pays off as far as tires are concerned. If you can keep those tires running in a straight line as much as possible, then it keeps the heat down and keeps the problems down.
Rudd is 9th on the field. There he is coming out of the corner. Behind him is the 21 car of Kyle Petty. He's in 10th position. Let's run down the top 10. There's Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Rusty Wallace, Ken Schrader, Dale Earnhardt, Michael Waltrip, Sterling Marlin, then Darrell Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, and the 21 car of Kyle Petty. Now we see Sterling Marlin trying to make a move on Michael Waltrip in corner number 7. They come out of that corner, and Michael still has that spot. That's Darrell Waltrip there on the left. Racing alongside of Sterling Marlin. Let's see how this battle shakes out as they head for turn number 1. And Darrell, I believe, has moved up 1 position.
Darrell is driving a very smart and a very careful race. He's not going to abuse that car any more than he has to stay in there. So at the end, the last 50 miles or so, that's when you'll see him really go if the car's still under him.
Waltrip has moved up to 7th position, passing Sterling Marlin. Now the 26 car of Ricky Rudd is alongside of Sterling. And they go into the corner with Marlin still holding on to that 8th spot, but Rudd is right there, and so is Kyle Petty. Now back up front, we have Rusty Wallace moving his car back and forth, seeing if there is an opportunity to pass, but for the moment it is Bill Elliott holding on to the advantage. He is our 5th leader of the afternoon. Terry Labonte is 2nd, Rusty Wallace is 3rd. Back with more from the Budweiser at the Glen right after this. The Winston Cup cars are at Watkins Glen International Raceway, and Rusty Wallace in car number 27 is in 3rd position, but he almost took 2nd away from Terry Labonte a few minutes ago, and Terry got the rear end of that car off the racetrack, did about a quarter spin, but nevertheless gathered it in and held on to 2nd position. So he is 2nd to Bill Elliott, and Rusty Wallace is in 3rd spot. What a great season Bill Elliott is having. He's leading this race, and in his last 4 starts, he has had a 2nd, a 1st, and an 8th. And as you can see, all 4 victories so far in 1988 have been at the hands of Bill Elliott. And I agree with you, Ned. If there ever was a year in which Bill Elliott is poised and ready to win the Winston Cup Championship, it's this year, because he has his short track program together. Obviously, he's got his road course program together, and you never count him out on the super speedways.
Certainly don't, and he seems so much more relaxed, and so does Ernie, his brother, and the whole team. They're better prepared for it now than they were in 1985 when they were winning all that race, all of those races, and going for the $1 million for winning 3 of the 4 major races, and so many things that came upon them that year that they were just not ready for. But now they are ready for the attention that goes along with it, and I think they're better prepared not only mentally, but their racing team is a more total race team primarily because the short track program is all together.
Still a good battle going on here for 2nd spot. Let's see if Rusty Wallace is ready to take 2nd away from Labonte. Indeed he is. And we have Rusty Wallace moving up his spot into 2nd place. Remember, he has told us, and so has Barry Dotson, that both have agreed that Rusty is taking it easy here a little bit, conserving just a little, but now he may be in a position to take the lead back. Here he goes. Can he do it? Can he take the lead from Bill Elliott? Not this time.
He just can't stand it, Bob. He can't. That car will run, and he just can't stand to be back there. And I know how he feels. It is tough if you got a car that'll do it, to sit there and baby the car. You just got to put it up there.
So Wallace comes off corner number 7 and heads down the straightaway once again. He and Bill cross the line, and there are 38 laps completed now. He moves to the inside, takes a look, going into turn 1, decides against it, and lets Bill continue to lead.
Not too much change in the top 10 from when you gave it a moment ago. Michael Waltrip has now dropped back to the 10th position. Richard Petty's running 11th. Mark Martin is running 12th. 13th is Harry Gant. 14th is Morgan Shepherd. 15th is Rick Wilson. 16th is Bobby Hillen. 17th is Alan Kowicki. 18th, Dave Marcus. 19th is Brett Bodine. 20th is Joe Rutman. Dale Jarrett is 21st. Davey Allison is 22nd. And Mike Alexander running 23rd.
And that fourth place competitor right there is Ken Schrader. Larry Newber is with Harry Hyde, the crew chief on this car.
Well, everyone says, including Harry, that he helped talk Kenny Schrader to victory at Talladega a couple of weeks ago. What are you telling Kenny today? This is his best performance on the road course, Harry.
Well, I'm telling him to use his foot real cautious, stay easy on the brakes, be as smooth as he can, because he's not a real, we don't think a real road racer yet, and we're still in training, so I'm telling him to do everything on the conservative side.
Well, Bob and Ned, I think that Kenny may be a little quicker than what he's showing right now. Everybody's holding back just a touch.
Well, it's certainly good to see Kenny Schrader visit victory lane for the first time in his career, and what an exciting win it was a few weeks back in Talladega. So Ken Schrader has his first Winston Cup victory under his belt, and now perhaps they get a little bit easier. He's fourth right now here at Watkins Glen. And here comes a car into the pit area. That appears to be Rick Wilson.
Unscheduled pit stop for him, and it looks like it's a tire problem for Rick Wilson, and Brett Bodine coming into the pits behind him. Brett, they will go to the right side on that car, and it looks like there might have been a little smoke coming from that car, but they are changing the right side tires. As they look at the left side tires, they're changing left side tires on Rick Wilson's car a little farther down pit road. Herschel McGriff coming into the pits also behind Brett Bodine, but they're looking all underneath Brett Bodine's car, so evidently he has a problem other than tires.
And look at this. Rusty Wallace has grabbed the lead back from Bill Elliott, so Wallace goes into the lead once again. And here is a replay of how it happened. Watch Rusty dart to the right and pass Bill Elliott.
Going into the turn, he just decided that he wanted to outbrake him going into that turn. He waited for just the right moment and dived down on the inside, took the lead. Of course, Elliott didn't fight him too much, Bob, going into that turn. He doesn't want to take any chances at this point of the race either.
And we have a spin involving, I believe, the number 70 car, J.D. McDuffie. It is off course, and you can see the corner workers are right there. Now, that yellow flag that is being displayed by the corner workers indicates that there is a yellow in that section of the course only. You can't pass right there, but it does not mean that there is an overall yellow. In fact, the green remains out. So now the battle shapes up for second position as Rusty Wallace begins to pull away just a little bit from Bill Elliott, Terry Labonte, Ken Schrader, Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, Kyle Petty, Sterling Marlin, and others. No, to the inside is Labonte and cannot do it right now. But Schrader in fourth position there is kind of watching everything ahead of him.
Boy, if Harry Hyde's telling him to take it easy, he's sort of champing at the bits. He wants to get up there, and here comes Terry Labonte trying again, but he can't quite do it this time. But look at Schrader. Schrader down on the inside of Terry Labonte, who has the advantage as they go into the turn, and it's Labonte on the inside with the advantage.
Boy, this is great racing, though.
And Elliott.
Oh, Elliott comes in for a pit stop.
Into the pit.
Here's Bill coming in. They built a little bit of a chicane there on the entrance to pit road to slow the cars down a bit. But after he moves through that chicane, Elliott stands on the gas. Now he begins to brake and slow for his pit crew. And here is Bill Elliott in for a stop. Larry Newber is right there.
Well, Bob, they first of all go to the left side. A crewman is crawling over the wall. They're allowed to only have 6 people, of course, and he's trying desperately to not violate the rule. They check something on the right side of the car, but it was a change of rubber on the left side, and we see another badly blistered tire rolling off the car. I can't tell if it's from the right side or from the front tire or the back tire. The 63 car of Giacomo has blown a tire, rather blown an engine. The yellow flag, we understand, is coming out, and we're taking a look at that tire that just came off of the Bill Elliott car. Was off the left rear, and it's got some big silver dollar blisters in it, Ned.
Here's Giacomo, who blew an engine going into turn 1. He was behind the leaders. Bill Elliott did stay in the lead lap. We'll see the other leaders coming into the pit. Tough break for Jocko. Had a brand new sponsor here. He's been trying for years to get himself a sponsor so that he could run the full Winston Cup circuit. However, he does not plan to run the balance of the season. Not all of the races, but he hopes to make most of them. But he has Fab, another washing detergent as we see the leaders come down the pit road, getting into racing. And our congratulations to Jocko for his sponsorship. Tough luck here today.
Rusty Wallace pits. Jerry Punch reports.
The Kodiak Pontiac on pit road. John Dawson in the rear of the car. Jimmy Maycar changing the left front tire. And, of course, Barry Dawson, the crew chief, coming around. Larry Newber down at Terry Labonte's pit, pitting there as well. Larry?
Well, Terry Labonte has come in at about a 30-degree angle. Jerry, you mentioned about how congested this pit area is. Of course, in the yellow flag conditions like this, it takes away a little bit of the congestion. It's very tight. They have changed the tires on the left side. Now they've gone to the right side, knocking a little bit of debris off underneath the car. And Terry Labonte is away, and Jerry Punch is back up.
Well, Rusty Wallace has already changed 4 tires, but it's awfully congested down here as Joe Ruppin's car has come to a halt behind the car of Mark Martin. He could not even get it in pit. His crew ran up here and trying to put fuel in the car, and now Ruppin's car trying to back away. Mark Martin's car trying to back up. He can't get out either. And now Dave Marcus' car sits sideways in pit road, and now Mark Martin is wrapped around almost to the track there. I tell you, it's awfully congested down here. Everyone's trying to get those tires in as Mark Martin now moves away.
Well, there was a lot of congestion down there in those pits. We saw Richard Petty going out there past some of that congestion. Richard had made a pit stop at the same time that Bill Elliott was in under the green. However, he stayed in the lead lap. Of course, he came back in to change the left side tires. Came back in this time to change the right side tires under caution.
So the Stroh Ford of Mark Martin is catching up with the rest of the field as he has completed his pit stop on a very busy pit road as we are under caution because of the blown engine on the Jocko Giacomo car. And look at who's back in the race. I speculated earlier that he was just getting a free ride back to the pit area and the crew would make repairs and get him back out. And indeed, Jeff Bodine is back in the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. The field is under caution behind the pace car, and we are very close to the halfway point. And the number 04 car of Herschel McGriff is the first car behind the pace car.
He is at least a lap down, though, Bob, because he made some unscheduled pit stops on the green flag. But good to see Herschel up front there at least.
It will be quite a story when we go to Darlington on Labor Day weekend and televise for you live the Southern 500 if Herschel McGriff is in the field, because he was in the very first one almost 40 years ago. Back with more right after this from the Budweiser at the Glen. Well, later on this afternoon here on ESPN at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, the Canadian Open has some exciting tennis is going on just to the north of us. You can see now some of the action going on there. Now at 4 o'clock, we will have all the action for you with Cliff Drysdale calling the action for you. The Canadian Open at 4 o'clock this afternoon. We are at Watkins, Glen, New York for the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race, and we are under a full course caution once again. Jocko Giacomo's engine let go, and he put down some moisture on the racetrack, so they're getting it up off the surface. The second round of pit stops have been made, and the car's now just waiting for the restart. As we mentioned, the crowd, it is absolutely tremendous. There are thousands of people in the infield and lining the course watching this first and only visit to Watkins Glen International Raceway during 1988.
And Bob, about half of those people have been here since Friday. I was amazed when I came in here Friday to see the number of campers and the people that were already in the infield here at Watkins Glen.
Well, I think it shows that Winston Cup racing is a United States racing series. Here we are in upstate New York, and you normally think that Winston Cup racing may be confined to just those in the southeast, but that is not true. The New York crowd is just really into Winston Cup racing. And as we mentioned, Jeff Bodine, of course, is their favorite. But Jeff will not win this race today, but he is back in competition after having crashed earlier in the event. We're just about at the halfway point. Next time, it'll be the completion of lap number 45 out of 90 in the Budweiser at the Glen. We'll be back with more of our live coverage right after this. Back at Watkins Glen, New York, the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. Field still under caution. Now, we have been confirmed that the 04 car driven by Herschel McGriff, the first car past the pace, behind the pace car, is 2 laps down. Larry Newber has a report concerning the Terry Labonte ride Junior Johnson's machine. Larry?
Well, Bob, we heard earlier that the Goodyear tire engineers are recommending that you scuff in the tires. Well, I'm standing by in the Junior Johnson Tim Brewer pit. And of course, they're working on Terry Labonte's car, and there are a number of ways you can scuff in tires. Well, Tim hired J.D. McDuffie, sort of an on-the-track testing. J.D. was scuffing in some of those tires for Terry Labonte when he slid off course. The end result, 4 flat spots, and I guess we'll have to start all over again for scuffing in those tires. So sometimes the best laid plans of mice and men. Jerry?
Talk about teamwork on the Winston Cup Tour. Well, we're back in the Rusty Wallace pits with Jimmy Maycar, who's the chassis specialist for Rusty. And Jimmy, you have someone scuffing tires for you as well.
Yeah, that's right. Patty Moise is putting our new tires on for us and running them a stop for us and then taking them back off and bringing them back down here. So that way we can have scuffed tires go back on the car instead of trying to take a chance with the new tires on our car.
So you buy brand new tires, roll them up to Patty Moise's pits, she puts them on, and what do you tell her to do? I mean, she can't run that hard with them, obviously.
Well, she's not driving her car quite as hard as Rusty's driving ours, so the tires aren't going to have as much chance to blister on hers as they would us. So that way we can take them back off, bring them back here. She just does her thing with them, and we get them.
Tag team racing here at Watkins Glen. One of the best chassis men in the business. He's also, by the way, Ned Jarrett's son-in-law, Jimmy Maycar.
All right, and there is Jocko Magiacomo, who is being placed in the ambulance. He looks just perhaps a little bit exhausted sitting up and doesn't appear to be seriously injured, but he will apparently be loaded into the ambulance.
Well, there he is waving, and it does look like he has a leg splint on, but he's okay. We'll find out about that a little bit later. Of course, Jocko was involved in the accident with Bobby Allison and had some injuries in that wreck. He told me yesterday that he's just now really getting his strength back and getting straightened out from that accident back in June.
All right, let's now recap the first half of this race. Our Napa mid-race recap shows that Bill Elliott was the leader at the halfway point, having led 11 of the 45 laps. We were under caution at the halfway point, and Bill had pitted on laps 12, 26, and 42. 3 cautions, a total of 15 laps. We'd have 5 different leaders and 8 lead changes. 40 cars started, only 5 have dropped from competition, and there are 29 on the lead lap. Those who have dropped out of competition include Derek Cope, Benny Parsons, Neil Bonnet, Lake Speed, and Jocko Magiacomo. So under caution, once again, as we are still mopping up the oil put down by the Jocko Magiacomo car. On a road course, it's very important not to run out of fuel because you can't coast back to the pit area in some cases. Restarting a car after it runs out of the fuel is subject of our quick back. Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
When a Winston Cup stock car runs out of fuel, it'll come down pit road and the crew members will refuel the car. But it may not fire right away because there's no gas in the carburetor. The crew will raise the hood. They will jump over and spray ether into the hot engine compartment, into the carburetor to refire the car. Now that's dangerous. Ether can cause a fire, crew members can be burned, or even worse, the engine can explode. Now what they've done, they found a system where they don't even have to raise the hood at all. This small container filled with gasoline will be hooked to a hose that sticks out the side of the car. It will squirt gasoline through that opening around underneath the hood area this tube raises, goes right in through the breather, drops fuel in the carburetor. The car will fire immediately without raising the hood. There's no danger to the crew members, and the driver is down and away. A safety factor here in NASCAR.
You remember Rusty Wallace had to come in for one of those emergency fuel stops last year on the last lap. Are we in a situation we might see that this time, or are we too early?
It's a little bit too early, Bob. It depends. They cannot go from this point of the race the rest of the way without fuel. They will have to make one more pit stop, so it depends on whether there's another caution flag or not. So all cars will have to make at least one more pit stop, and our pit reporter, Jerry Punch and Larry Newber, will keep an eye on that.
So we're just one lap past the halfway point now. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Ned Jarrett, Larry Newber, and Jerry Punch, and we are live from Watkins Glen, New York, and we'll be right back. We are back at Watkins Glen and anticipating the restart. The yellow lights above the pace car have been extinguished, and we should be going back to green next time around. Once again, Herschel McGriff is the first car back at the pace car, but he's 2 laps down. And we're just a little past the halfway point. Who's looked good in your opinion so far?
Well, certainly Bill Elliott has looked good, and so has Rusty Wallace. Now, Elliott got out of the pits in good position there in the lead, but Gerald Waltrip, look where he is. He came out in good position in second place That's the father stuff he's been today. Of course, he has Rusty Wallace right on his back bumper there, so it's maybe not quite show and tell time. They might wait another 20 laps or so before they really show what they have, but I think Wallace and Bill Elliott are the two strongest cars.
We'd like to remind you that at 8 o'clock tonight Eastern Time, live here on ESPN, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers as we continue our NFL preseason action. 8 o'clock tonight live here on ESPN. Well, we should be getting a green flag very shortly because the field is coming through corner number 6 now, and the pace will begin to quicken. You can hear the accelerators being pushed to the floor and the speed picking up just a little as the pace car has pulled well ahead of the rest of the field. Doyle Ford, the substitute for Harold Mender, is poised watching the cars coming off of corner number 7, and the green flag is out. Here we go. Look at Darrell Waltrip on the left side of your screen in the Tide machine. He could have the lead. Nope, looks like it's going to be Bill Elliott. Gravity to turn number 1. Elliott wins the race. Darrell Waltrip is second. Rusty Wallace third, and Herschel McGriff gets off the track just a little bit as Rusty and Herschel went through that corner side by side, and Herschel was forced off the racetrack.
Herschel has been around for a long, long time, but they didn't give him too much respect there. Here's a side-by-side battle between Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt.
This is for 4th position. The black number 3 is Earnhardt. The red and white number 11 is Terry Labonte. So a good battle for 4th here as Elliott leads, then Waltrip, then Rusty Wallace. Now Dale Earnhardt has moved into 4th spot. Terry Labonte is back in that 5th position. Then comes Ken Schrader in car number 25, who continues to run very, very strong. Kyle Petty is behind him, and Kyle is a driver that we mentioned numerous times so far in the race. He has been in contention all race long. Look at Dale Earnhardt. He takes 3rd spot away from Rusty Wallace.
Boy, he just drove by him and Rusty might have a problem, Bob, because he drove by him so quick there that it didn't look like Rusty was doing too much to hold him up.
Labonte is really driving hard also in that number 11 car as it was sideways coming off of turn number 7. So here they come once again. Wallace, there's Terry Labonte, and we focus back on the number 26 car of Ricky Rudd and Morgan Shepherd. Let's go to the pits for this quick report.
We are told here the Rusty Wallace that they think they may have a problem with the left side tire. That Wallace may have a problem. They are getting ready for some tires here on the wall. Barry Dotson and the crew sitting there shaking their heads, and this time Rusty is calling back and said, no, it feels okay now, but they're going to watch it very closely. They may bring him in next time by.
Well, we'll watch him closely here, too. It does look like he's running a little bit better, but he's slowed there for a little bit. Now, Terry Labonte trying to find a way around him as Kyle Petty tries to make a move on Ken Schrader right behind those two cars. Wallace, of course, in car number 27. Terry Labonte in car number 11.
We'll continue to watch this Rusty Wallace situation as he and Labonte fight for that 5th position, or make that the 4th position.
Bob, sometimes under a caution, now they came in and changed tires during that caution period, but sometimes they ran several laps, and there is some rubber on the track because they run relatively soft compound tires on a road course, and it's possible that they might have picked up some of that soft rubber that sort of glued to the surface of the tires, and when you get up to speed then, it'll feel like you have a flat tire. It scoots you around for a little bit, then that rubber will wear off and you're okay.
The NASCAR officials have informed us that there will be a mandatory yellow flag period on lap number 60 so that the crews can check the tire wear on these cars. So we'll look for that exactly 10 laps from now. That's what we've been told from NASCAR. At lap 60, a mandatory caution for everybody to come in and have their tires checked.
And of course, that would put them in position that they could go the rest of the way as far as fuel is concerned. So gas would not be a problem. Tires would be their only concern after that.
That would be 30 laps from the finish of this race, so it would set up a very exciting finish because everybody would have enough fuel and they could slug it out for the lead. Meanwhile, slugging it out right now, Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte as they race side by side. Off of turn number 5, headed for turn number 6. Labonte has disposed of Rusty Wallace, and Rusty continues to drop back here. So obviously that car is not performing nearly as well as it was earlier. Even Kyle Petty has moved to the inside and passed Rusty Wallace.
Yeah, it's not as comfortable to him as it was earlier. He's going to ride it out here a lap or two and see if there's anything major wrong. Try not to take any extra chances with it, but the car just doesn't feel as good to him as it did earlier.
one, I think, is a real story. Here's a guy who has already announced that he will not be back with the Wood Brothers next year after a 4-year association. But, man, he has taken that car for all it's worth today, and certainly not letting his divorce, so-called, from the Wood Brothers affect him in any way for this race. Let's go down to the pit area once again.
Update on Barry Dodson, crew chief for Rusty Wallace. And Barry, Rusty called in and said he thought he might have had a tire going down. What's the status?
They're not going down. We put tires on it that are worn out, you know, trying to be safe, trying to save the car, you know. And we got a mandatory caution coming up here in 8 or 10 laps. I just told him, I said, hang on, buddy, we're going to put you some good stuff on. Hope to go 30 laps.
So you hope the tires will make it the last 30 laps after the mandatory caution?
Yeah, you don't know what to do. You want to put brand new on, you know they won't make it. So you want to put, it's going to be borderline. It's tempting to put very fresh tires on, but common sense will hopefully tells you not to.
Well, they may try to pull a little bit of strategy here, put some used tires on, and maybe they'll make it the final 30 laps.
So there is Rusty. Now he has Ken Schrader right behind him in the red Bolger-sponsored car, number 25. Rusty Wallace in the 27th machine started this race in second position, has been one of the leaders, and now we have another car slowing, and that's the number 31 machine, rather the 37 car driven by Patty Moe. So she pulls off the racetrack in that Randy Hope Buick.
And that's the car that's breaking in tires for Rusty Wallace. So we've seen two cars. J.D. McDuffie was breaking in tires for the Terry Labonte car, and now Patty Moe has gone off the track.
And a good battle for third here as Terry Labonte and Dale Earnhardt and Kyle Petty are right there for that third spot. Now we have another full course yellow as the yellow is coming out from Doyle Ford, and the cars will be slowed once again, but remember they will be racing to the yellow here, and they'll be trying to perhaps pick up some spots. That's Walter pointing second to Bill Elliott. Then comes Labonte in number 11, Dale Earnhardt in number 3, and Kyle Petty in car number 21. Off of corner number 7.
They'll probably head into the pits.
Indeed they are.
In fact, they're going to do the tire check now, NASCAR is. They didn't get quite as far as they had intended to, but now that this caution has come out, they'll do that tire check now. Let's go to the pits and Larry Newberg.
Bill Elliott is the first one to enter the pits here at this end of the turn, or this end of the pits. We're down near turn number 1, and Terry Labonte comes in right behind him. Bill Elliott, the man who said he had problems during qualifying because of the heat. His 3 wins, by the way, this year have come from an average starting position of 22. So Bill Elliott started out characteristically toward the front if he wants to win. Now they're changing tire on all 4 sides, as you might expect, and Jerry Punch is following reaction midway to the pits. Likewise, all 4 tires going to Rusty Wallace's car. Keeping the car wrapped up, trying to get away, and he just does get out from behind the Mark Martin car. So fresh rubber on Rusty Wallace's car as they move down pit road.
All right, Ned, here's the question. They were going to stop on lap 60, and that would have given them enough fuel to run the race. They stopped 7 laps before that. We've got 37 to go. Can they complete the distance on that amount of fuel?
It's going to be close. We said at the top of the show they could go 35 to 40 laps on this road course. And of course, they packed every ounce of gasoline in there that they could get. And I think most of them can make it from here on.
But we could very well have a situation like last year when Rusty Wallace had to come in for a splash and go, but he still won the race. We are under caution once again at the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race from Watkins, Glen, New York. We'll be right back. 53 laps of the 90-lap Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. Live here on ESPN this Sunday afternoon. We hope you're enjoying it. Now, we had mentioned just before the break, we're speculating on whether or not the cars would have enough fuel now to go the distance with 36 laps remaining. Larry Newber is down the pit area, has been checking the situation. Larry, what do you think?
Well, Bob, first of all, I'm between Kenny Schrader, Terry Labonte, Bill Elliott, and Dale Earnhardt, all the guys running up near the front. And to a crew down here, they all think they cannot go the distance. But, of course, that big factor we have here today are these frequent yellow flags that NASCAR and Goodyear is going to be seeking out. So everybody thinks there's going to be at least one more yellow flag before this race is over. But if there is no more yellow flag, they still think they cannot go the distance. So if we go green the rest of this race, we could see some exciting splash and goes like late last year when Rusty Wallace ducked in.
That is indeed the situation. Now, 3 cars have not stopped during this caution period. There is the reason for the yellow flag. Number 37 car of Patty Moise being towed off of the racetrack. She came to a stop in some remote portion of the racetrack and is getting a tow back to pits.
Patty is a very good road racer. Of course, most of her experience in the past had been road racing in the IMSA series. But this year she's running a mixture of Winston Cup races and Busch Grand National races and running some of the oval tracks around the country. Doing a very good job.
And speaking of the Busch Grand National Series, last night the winner was Rick Mast. Finishing second was Mike Alexander. Well, some more traffic on pit road. Look at this as Mike Alexander gets out just ahead of Dale Jarrett. It is tight down there.
Yes, that was when they made their pit stop just after the caution came out, and Richard Petty was almost in a wreck right behind those two, so they really well jammed up.
Again, Rick Mast, the winner last night at Rougemont. It was Mike Alexander finishing second. Rob Moroso was third. Ed Barrier was fourth. Fifth was Ellie Otcher, and then Tommy Houston and Tommy Ellis. So that Busch Grand National Series is very, very good one with lots of winners this year. And we'll see their competition.
We'll see them in a couple of weeks at Bristol, Tennessee under the lights.
All right, we are still under yellow at Watkins Glen International Raceway, and we'll be right back with more of our live coverage. The top five with 55 of 90 laps completed. Harry Gant, Bobby Hillen Jr., and Phil Parsons, those three cars running first, second, and third, but they did not come in for a stop during this caution period. Fourth, Ken Schrader, and fifth position belongs to Darrell Walter. We're just about to go back to green. And there is a look at Dale Jarrett from the Hardee's in-car race cam. You can see him wearing a football type or a wrestler type knee pad there on the right. Why is that, Dale?
I think that his knee apparently rubs the gear shift lever there occasionally. That's the only thing that I can think of. I haven't seen him limping around the pit area too much, so I think that that's the reason that it's so close to that gear shift lever.
You can see that his knee is almost on top of his shift lever.
And the fact that they run so much here in third gear. They run more in third than they do in high gear around here, so that puts the gear shift lever in a different position.
So Dale is awaiting the restart of this race also, ready to stand on the gas. You can see him cinching up his shoulder harnesses and making sure that they're tight before we get back into some high-speed racing.
He's in 11th position right at the moment.
Rusty Wallace there on the left side of your screen, the green and white car number 27, is in 13th position. There is Dale, or rather, Dale. And Rusty is in 13th, and it will be interesting to watch how he moves when the green flag comes out, because remember, he apparently had some bad tires on the car, was able to come in and change them during the most recent caution period, and could really move up when that green flag drops.
Yes, he could, and of course he has some heavy traffic to come through there. Now, some of those cars, like Richard Petty and Dale Jarrett, Dave Marcus, only took on 2 tires. I'm sure that Rusty put 4 tires, or his crew put 4 tires on that car, so that was one reason that they beat him out of the pits.
Harry Gant, car number 33, is the first car behind the pace car leading this event, as we are just about to get the green flag and a resumption of competition. It'll come out on lap number 56. There you can see the pace quickening, and the green flag is out once again. So we're back to racing at the Budweiser at the Glen. That's Darrell Walter there on the left side of the screen.
He tried to make a move on Kenny Schrader going into turn 1, but Schrader kept his foot on the floor and beat Walter into the turn.
Watching Rusty Wallace here, he's behind Richard Petty, who is behind Dale Jarrett. Now let's see if Rusty moves up. Richard Petty moves alongside of Dale Jarrett as they came into that corner, but it doesn't appear as if Rusty is moving up very quickly, if at all.
He's certainly going to pick his spot on the racetrack to make the move. Now he moves on the inside of Dale Jarrett, or tries to, but doesn't quite get the job done that time. We're watching from the rear of Dale Jarrett's car. You can see Rusty try to pull up on the right side, then he decides to go right in behind him as they go into the turn, the gear down, going into that turn 5. Now he gets down to the inside of Jarrett. Jarrett goes a little bit high, but Rusty has to back off, and here he goes again, so Dale giving him a run for his money there.
I don't think that that car has what it had in the early stages. I don't think Rusty Wallace has what it's going to take to win this race. By the way, while we're watching this action from out the back glass, and another full course yellow comes out. There is oil on the racetrack because Michael Waltrip, car number 30, has blown an engine. Now Rusty did get by Dale Jarrett. There is Michael Waltrip trying to get the car as high on the racetrack as possible and out of the groove, but it does bring out another caution period.
And Bob, they'll be able to come in this time and make a pit stop, and I think they would be able to go the rest of the distance from here as far as the fuel is concerned.
So 57 laps completed, and we are in our 6th caution period of the afternoon. And there's Michael Waltrip in the Country Times number 30 machine, and that car has given up the ghost, but he gave it a great run.
He really did have a good run today, and you can see him at the left of your screen as he comes off the turn and the car starts to blow. Here he is right in the middle of a bunch of traffic, and boy, the smoke goes out, and that really blinds the cars behind him. But he does get it off of the track and out of harm's way. It looks like some fire coming out of that, as we saw earlier on Benny Parsons' car. And sometimes that'll happen as the oil comes out of the engine, gets on the exhaust pipe, and that's what causes the fire.
Well, he was racing with Rick Wilson, among others. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Ned, we are told that he has not blown the engine in the Country Time Lemonade Pontiac, and instead they've exploded the transmission on the car. The transmission came apart. That was the fire you saw beneath the car, and if it is, it's still going to require a lot of work to get this car fixed, so they're going to try to push it back and put it up on jack stands, put another transmission in it, and get him back on the racetrack. But it'll be a lengthy stay and another tough break for Mike Walter.
So they're pushing the car behind the wall, and they'll try to make repairs, but they've got a job ahead of them with now 57 laps completed. And we'll see if everybody or most do come in for a stop this time and get the necessary fuel that they will need to complete the race.
Well, it looks like most of the, or many of the pit crews down on pit road are poised for their drivers to come into the pits. And I think it'd be smart for most of them to come in because, as Larry Newber mentioned earlier, many of them were concerned that they couldn't go the rest of the way, but from here on, maybe they can.
Let's see if Rusty Wallace is among those that come in. We mentioned a little bit earlier how we have all but 2 of the remaining Winston Cup races on the schedule for 1988. We'll be back a week from today at Michigan International Speedway for that 400-mile event, which is always one of the more competitive on the Winston Cup Series, and we hope that you'll be with us next Sunday afternoon as Speed World is live from Michigan International Raceway with more Winston Cup competition. There's Rusty. He's right behind the number 12 car, driven by Mike Alexander, and that, of course, is the car that is normally assigned to Bobby Allison. But we are hopeful that Bobby will be back in that car very soon.
The leaders did not come into the pits as they came off turn. Even the 3 cars that did not pit on the last caution didn't come in. Now, Mike Alexander is coming in, and Dale Jarrett is coming in. But the others stay out on the racetrack.
Well, maybe they know as we watch the pit stop of Dale Jarrett from his car, maybe they realize that this is going to take 2 or 3 laps to get the oil up off the racetrack. He's taking a drink of fluid there and pulling back out. So Dale Jarrett back in competition. Maybe just thinking that the caution is going to last 2 or 3 laps, and they will come in a little bit later.
Well, that's very possible. He gets the stop-and-go signal down at the end of pit road as the field goes by, and so he'll move from his 13th position back to the back of the pack.
Rusty, this is Bob Jenkins. You read me?
I got you, Bob. Go ahead.
Well, we've been watching you, and it doesn't appear to us as the car is working as well as it did. What's your assertion of the whole situation?
Everything's working okay, Bob. We're just having problems. That last stop, we had a left front flat tire again. The place is so dirty that we're just picking up a lot of rocks. And because of the flat tire, it put me to the back of the field here. Now I'm just going to bite and claw and try to get back up to the front.
Question is, can you win the race?
I think I can win the race. I think I can win the race real good. We're going to have this unreal pit stop because I have to get out of pit quicker. The guys are doing a great job. They're doing it fast, but where we're at, we're getting locked in and everything, and I just got to get out faster.
Will you come in for a stop here during this caution, or are you going to go the rest of the way?
I'm going to do what Barry Dodson tells me to do.
All right, we'll see for ourselves. We'll let you get back to work.
I was curious about that, and usually the crew chief, who is Barry Dodson on the Rusty Wallace car, they do make those calls. I think we're going to see some others come in this next time around. We understand that maybe Darrell Waltrip might be having a tire problem, and his crew indeed is out on pit road ready for him to come in, and I think others will be coming in at least to top the fuel off.
The report on Darrell Waltrip is that he has a flat left rear, so there you can see the Tide crew awaiting his arrival on pit road so they can make the change.
When Rusty Wallace says the track was very dirty, of course, we've seen the quick dry that they put down because of the transmission fluid that came out of Michael Waltrip's car, but We've seen cars get off of the track occasionally, not nearly as much as they do at Riverside, but yet they'll kick some dirt and gravel up on the racetrack, and it doesn't take much to cut these tires. They are so thin, they don't have tread on them, and it doesn't take much to cut them.
You know, we've talked about those who perform well on road courses. Hey, this guy right here is no slouch on road courses. He has 5 road course wins, all at Riverside. But here's another guy who has performed very well on this type of circuit. And it's things like the left tire, flat left tire that he has right now that have prevented him from visiting victory lane here at Watkins Glen. Let's go to Larry Newber.
Well, Bob, Darrell thought he was going to be, and I'm quoting him, real tough today. They were happy with how they qualified. They qualified with the race motor, not the qualifying motor. They felt they were in position for a very good finish here. It is a flat left rear tire, as you have commented a couple of times. And by the way, a little bit of detail as to why the majority of the teams and drivers have not come in as we watch the crew go to work on Darrell's car. They're going to, as a precautionary measure, change the rubber on all 4 sides. What I was told was that they were all a little confused about what NASCAR's plans are for these yellow flags, maybe yellow flags plural, they anticipate here in the final 20-25 laps of this race. That's why the majority of them did not come in. They also said, well, we're going to watch the leader of this race, and whatever the car who is leading the race, the first one in line does, I guess the rest of us will do. And of course, on a road course, unlike an oval where things happen so quickly, particularly on a super speedway, you can kind of watch what that leader is going to do as he comes around the final corner, and whatever lead he takes, you follow it.
So drama definitely will be played out here in the final 30 laps. We are on lap number 59, and when they come around next time, it will be lap number 60, and that means 30 from the checkered flag, 2/3 of the event in. Back with more of our live coverage in a moment. Well, it's a great day for auto racing, and it's a great day to play golf, whether it be here in upstate New York or elsewhere. There are the standings in the PGA Championship final round. As you can see, the golfers who have the best score at this point. So we keep you up to date on the PGA Championship. And we also have the latest in auto racing as the pace car once again has turned off its lights, and we are scheduled to go back to competition here in just a moment. The scene is Watkins Glen's International Raceway in New York, and the event is the Budweiser at the Glen. 60 laps have been completed now, and when they come by, they'll get the green flag, and hopefully they'll be able to go 30 laps of green racing. We haven't seen long periods of green here when the drivers can really dice it out and mix it up a little bit. Hopefully we'll be able to go the rest of the way with the green flag, but we have had a series of yellow flags, and there you can see how hot it is. It's 130 degrees inside Dale Jarrett's Hardy's Oldsmobile. That gives you an idea of just what he is racing under the conditions.
And it's supposed to be cool in this part of the country.
Well, let's go once again to the pit area and check on the Rusty Wallace situation. Jerry?
A number of strategy sessions going on down here. Rusty Wallace has been talking back and forth to Barry Dotson, the crew chief. Barry, first you were going to bring him in. You rolled tires up and had the fuel cans hoisted ready to come. And you said no. And you said yes. What's the strategy? What are you going to do?
Well, Raymond usually takes us to Las Vegas to play Russian roulette. We're doing it in New York. There was a chance we could have made it on fuel. The deciding factor was we didn't know if NASCAR was still going to have a mandatory caution. So we decided to stay out. Darrell made a pretty smart move. If he can make it, fine. He's in the back. He's going to have to run hard to get up there anyway because the cars in the front can run hard and dash in. So we did what the majority of them did. I hope it's the right thing.
Well, they rolled the dice in the Wallace pits. Maybe it'll work.
Well, he was referring, of course, to Darrell Waltrip, who had to come in to change the flat tire, but he is well back in the pack now and has a long way to come. Before we go green, we'll take this break. It's lap 61, and the green flag has just come back out. And Harry Gant has the lead. Mike Alexander, make that Bobby Hillin Jr. is running in second position. Phil Parsons is in third, but Parsons now is taking second away from Bobby Hillin Jr. So Phil Parsons is second now. Bobby Hillin Jr. back to third position, and then Ken Schrader is right there in fourth. So some new faces, so to speak, in this road course race here this afternoon.
Yes, Phil Parsons led one of the races in the late stages at Riverside last year and then slid off the course, but he does not have as much experience as some of those that we've seen up there earlier today. But Harry Gant has not had a great deal of success on road courses, but he's run well on a lot of them.
Well, here's another guy who has already indicated that he will not be associated with this team next year, but he would very much like to register a victory for them before the association ends. And so far this year in Winston Cup competition, Harry's best finish has been a 10. Now, Rusty Wallace there is still mired back in the pack somewhat and having some difficulty moving up through the traffic. There he is. He has Ricky Rudd right behind him. And the number 71 car of Dave Marcus is ahead of him.
And Dave Marcus has been running good all day in the Lifebuoy Soap car, and he's not one of the easier drivers to pass on any racetrack.
Now we have a battle for the lead. Bill Parsons has first position, taking it away from Harry Gant. So Bill Parsons goes into the lead, and he becomes our 10th different leader of the afternoon.
And earlier in the race, we saw him up against the rail, Bob. He had blown a tire and got into the guardrail and had to go all the way around on a flat tire, but he stayed in the lead lap.
Let's take a look at how it happened. Here comes Bill Parsons moving inside of Harry.
As we've seen a couple of times this afternoon, as they go down the long back stretch, he picks up the draft, out-brakes Harry going into that turn, and takes over the lead.
So Bill Parsons now is in command of this race. Let's watch Ken Schrader, who has taken his car to the inside and passed Bobby Hillin Jr. Bobby Hillin Jr. appears to be dropping back as several cars are now passing him. Here comes Dale Earnhardt, Sterling Marlin, Terry Labonte. There's Bill Elliott also getting by Bobby Hillin Jr. So some positions are definitely being traded here as Bobby Hillin Jr. may have a problem with that car. He's dropping back rather rapidly.
Of course, Bobby has not stopped in the last two caution periods, but neither did Bill Parsons or Harry Gant.
This is anybody's race, that's for sure. Here they come once again. Bill Parsons, Harry Gant, Ken Schrader. Kyle Petty is still right in the thick of things. Dale Earnhardt, Terry Labonte, and now Rusty Wallace passes Sterling Marlin and Bill Elliott. So now Rusty is beginning to move up just a little bit.
Yes, he is. That car is working well now, and he's driving it very aggressively, but yet very smoothly.
He is up to 7th position. Behind him is Marlin and Elliott. The green car, Quaker State sponsored, is Ricky Rudd, and then comes Richard Petty, who is hanging right in there.
Richard having a good run here, running a 1987 Pontiac. That's the car they took out of a show car appearance at Riverside, and it worked so well out there when he wrecked his regular car in qualifying. He said, heck, we'll just put that car in service and run it Watkins Glen. Run well.
All right, let's go to Larry Newber, who has some information on perhaps a mandatory yellow, as we had indicated there would be earlier.
Well, Bob, I've been trying to get information, and I have failed in doing so, and it's not because of lack of trying. I talked to Bill Homer of Goodyear, and he said, well, they don't even make me privy to those things, like when are they going to throw a yellow for tire precautionary stuff. Now, here is my opinion, however, as to what I believe will happen. We're about at lap 65, and all the crews are telling me that they can get 10 laps comfortably and maybe 15 laps out of a set of tires. Keep in mind, this is a 90-lap race, and really what NASCAR would like to set up is that everybody feels safe in racing for the win. So I kind of predict, because it's 10 laps away from the 75-lap mark now, and that 75-lap mark is 15 laps away from the end of the race, that we'll probably see that yellow flag about lap 75. Now to Jerry Punch.
Well, indeed, if that happens, some of the teams up here may have figured their strategy correctly. You know, Barry Dodson did not bring Rusty Wallace in. They would have had to go 37 laps to the completion of the race. They can't make it on fuel. They need that one more mandatory stop. And remember, Harry Gant, and I'm in his pitch now, did not pit the last 2 times. He has already run 21 laps, and now Gant is dropping back a little bit. His Schrader goes 5, but Harry Gant has already run 21 laps on that fuel tank and on those tires. So he needs a mandatory yellow within the next 10 or 11 laps, or he's going to run out again.
We see Kyle Petty knocking on Harry Gant's door also, as Harry has fallen back to that 3rd position.
Could be that his tires have gone away on Harry Gant's car because he's been out there that long, about as long as we've seen anybody run today. However, many of those laps have been under caution, didn't abuse the tires too much, but it doesn't take long to heat them up, and they'll go away from you if you aren't too careful.
Petty there behind Harry Gant, looking for his 3rd Winston Cup career victory. All of it, of course, with the Wood brothers. Here comes Bill Parsons, who has stretched out just a little bit of an advantage over 2nd place Ken Schrader. Schrader in car car number 25. This car, or at least one similarly numbered and similar in appearance, has visited Victory Lane here at Watkins Glen under the command of Tim Richmond in 1986, 2 years ago. There's the leader, though, Phil Parsons in this gold Oldsmobile. But it's a tight race. Second, third, and fourth are hooked right together on the racetrack.
You have to hand it to Phil Parsons and his crew. Having the trouble that he had early in the race, and they bounced back for it, and here leading the race now at this point. And doing it very handily, too, because he's outrunning some cars, Ken Schrader and some of those that were up there battling for the lead earlier, so the car is working very well. Apparently, when you had to go all the way around the track with the flat tire, it didn't do any suspension there.
There is Phil, who was the winner of the Talladega 500 earlier this year, his first and only Winston Cup win so far. Now we see this group of cars running together again. That's Ricky Rudd at 26. Ahead of him is Rusty Wallace. Terry Labonte, Dale Earnhardt are also in a tight battle for that position as we see the leaders come down the straightaway between turns 5 and 6.
Bob, that dark blue car, number 71, is Dave Marcus. He just came out of the pits. He had transmission problems. He was in the pits for about 2 laps, and he came back out in the middle of the front pack.
There's Earnhardt right ahead of Rusty Wallace. Now Wallace is going to try a pass, it'll look like. Coming down the straightaway, Rusty is going to try to take the position away from Dale Earnhardt. Nope, he doesn't have the motor, or does he? Let's see, going into the turn. I think he's going to get him. Yep, and here comes Ricky Rudd. So Earnhardt loses 2 positions to Rusty Wallace and Ricky.
Well, you don't have to back off much until several of them will go by you as close as they're running it.
So Rusty Wallace is a man on the move. And so is Bill Elliott as he is trying to work his way back up toward the front. Ken Schrader is in second position, right behind Phil Parsons. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
We mentioned the success that the Folger team has had on the road courses over the years, and primarily with driver Tim Richmond. You mentioned the car. Well, it's the exact same car, Harry Hyde tells us, that ran here, sat on the pole 2 years ago at the inaugural running of the Budweiser at the Glen, and Tim Richmond won that race. It's also the same car that Tim Richmond took to Riverside, California last June and won out there. It's their only road racing car, and it's a good one. And Kenny Schrader is showing them how it runs here at the Budweiser at the Glen. It's still running well today.
Can he win his second Winston Cup race of his career and second of the season? We asked him earlier in the weekend if things have changed since that win at Talladega.
Well, it hasn't really changed anything. You know, I haven't been home but one day since then, but I'm never home anyway. We're always off racing. And we've run 5 short track shows. Just, you know, carrying on as normal. It was a real good day for us, but that's 2 weeks ago now. We just got to worry about this weekend.
Ken Schrader is a lot like Bobby Allison. He just can't let a race pass up if he's close to it. He's got to go to it, whether it's a short track or on dirt or whatever. And Kyle Petty is off course. A tough break for Kyle, who was running so strong this afternoon. Kyle Petty is off course. He has made contact with the Armco barrier. This might bring out a full course caution. We are on lap number 68. We will watch Doyle Ford, who is positioned right across from our broadcast booth, and see if he indeed does wave the yellow flag. And if he does have a caution waving, it'll change the strategy.
This indeed will change the strategy. We are told that Goodyear had waved off the mandatory yellow flag that would have flown maybe a few laps from now. So now the yellow is out. It will be a break for the top teams. Rusty Wallace, it'll be a great break for him, as it was for Harry Gant and Phil Parsons, who had not pitted on those last 2 yellow flags. They will get to come in. It'll be fresh rubber, full tank of fuel, and now we'll see who can push the button for these final few laps.
Here comes Phil Parsons in. You saw a shot there as Kyle Petty was being helped from his car, so perhaps he suffered an injury in that incident. We'll check on that situation later. Meanwhile, we'll watch the pit stop from our leader, Phil Parsons, as the crew goes to work on the left side of the car. Rusty Wallace is in. Here's Jerry.
Rusty Wallace getting left side rubber. They will change 4 tires. They put used tires, remember those scuffed tires, all the way around on the Rusty Wallace car. Cruz just on the left side. Barry Dodson at the jack. Jimmy Maycar at the front tire. John Dodson at the rear tire. They'll clean the windshield, get it full of fuel, and hope it'll make it the rest of the way. Fresh tires and full fuel. Rusty Wallace, good pit stop. 24.5 seconds, he's down and away.
Boy, it's just tremendous to see these crews work and change the tires and fuel the car in such precision. Absolutely beautiful. You can see several others coming out of the pits now. That's Mark Martin, once again having difficulty getting out. Jeff Bodine is also rolling away. That's the Morgan Shepherd car, number 88, that's pulling out of the pits. Here comes Richard Petty joining the fray. Kyle Petty apparently is just suffering from exhaustion. He has reclined on the ground, and you can see that he is, if not in pain, certainly suffering from exhaustion. So the medical crew will attend to him. He has brought his car off the racetrack, made contact with the Armco barrier, and we hope that Kyle Petty is not seriously injured.
Well, Bob, we saw how hot it was in Dale Jarrett's car a little while ago, 130 degrees. And I'll tell you, running as much as they have under the caution here today doesn't help the situation any, because when they're running at full speed, they get more air moving through the car, which would have a tendency to cool it down a little bit, and really makes it better for the driver. Even though he's having to work harder, it still is better. Now he's on his feet, limping a little bit, so Kyle apparently is going to be okay, maybe just a bruise on his leg.
Okay, so it's good to see Kyle Petty up and walking in. Here's the tail end of what happened.
Evidently, he blew a tire and went over into the guardrail, and it was a left front tire that apparently let go and put him into the guardrail. Now he goes into the ambulance. He'll be brought around to the track hospital just for a checkup, which is a mandatory situation by NASCAR when you have an accident of that sort.
Let's go to Larry Nuber.
Well, earlier in this race, Jerry Punch was talking about gambles, and there's some big-time gambling going on down here in the Kenny Schrader pit. This is Harry Hyde. You can see the brain wheels are cranking right now. They have decided to not bring Kenny Schrader in. Now, just a couple moments ago, I had a chance to ask Harry, are you planning on bringing Kenny in?
No, I'm going to gamble that this is a 5-lap caution. If it is, we've got it made. We've accumulated enough fuel on cautions to make it. It'll be close, but racing is a gamble, and Kenny needs a break, so I'm going to give him all the breaks I can.
Harry, the biggest question in my mind is I'm convinced you're okay on fuel because I've been watching what's going on and know what you should normally go. But tires, can the tires go the distance that are on the car right now?
Well, that's the reason why, too, we're leaving him out there. We've got a set of tires on there that was well worn in, and they have a lot better chance of making it than putting new tires on. So all of our chances are better to stay out than to come in.
Well, Harry says it's a gamble. They're giving Kenny all the chances they possibly can from down here, at least intellectually, to try and win this race.
Well, you can't argue with experience, though, and Harry Hyde is an experienced crew chief and knows exactly what to do, and so this gamble could very well pay off for Kenny.
Yes, it could. It's a good gamble because I think, like Larry said, that he can make it on gas. Now, Darrell Waltrip didn't stop, so he's up there in second position right now. Of course, Darrell had stopped on the last caution because he had a flat tire, had to stop, and so now when everybody else stopped, that puts him right back up in there. He had gotten up to about 14th position from the rear of the pack before the caution came out.
70 laps have been completed. We have 20 to go, and we are under our 6th caution flag of the afternoon, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage. Stay with us. Bob Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Jerry Punch, and Larry Nuber back at Watkins Glen International Raceway. We're under the yellow because of Kyle Petty's accident, and there you can see where he had impact with the guardrail, and he pushed the guardrail back pretty good. It was obviously a pretty hard impact.
Yes, he did. He hit it hard to bend it that much. It didn't look like when we saw it that it hit the rail that hard, but that's pretty hard.
And as we saw earlier, Kyle Petty was on the ground for a while, getting his thoughts back and his breath back, but he walked to the ambulance, so apparently isn't injured that badly. Let's go to Larry Nuber, who's with Jeff Hammond.
Well, Bob and Ned, I've had to retrieve some of the crew chiefs from the back of the pits here because for their signal to reach all the way around the track, particularly in the backstretch, they have to go back behind the pits. They're not hiding from us. They're just trying to communicate with the drivers. Now, your pit strategy was just a little different. Beginning to look good right now.
Well, we thought about doing that earlier, but to be very truthful with you, we were kind of forced in that situation. We had a left rear tire that started going down, and Darrell started feeling it. So he helped make our decision that much easier for us because when you have a flat tire, you got to get it off. But this is what we really wanted to be able to do, was stop, get 4 tires on that last caution flag. That way, if you have a caution like such as this right here, you're able to stay out and stay up front. Being up front is very important. I think if everybody noticed today, the guy that's been up front has been awful hard to catch and get by.
Well, Darrell used to run for Jeff Hammond. Right now, Jeff's got another driver, and our Jerry Punch is with Jeff.
Well, we've got Barry Dawson with us again, and Barry, Jerry, you guys have now shown your hand. You put new tires on this stop for the first time today. What's it going to do?
Well, hopefully it'll win the race for us, Jerry. We waited till we got inside 20 laps. You know, we wanted to put brand new tires on it. I told him the first 3 cars didn't stop. We also told him, take care of the tires, you know, keep them stickers as long as you can because we don't know how long they're going to work on the guardrail. I believe I'd rather have fresh tires than be sitting in front right now. Hopefully we made the right move. You know, like I said before, it's Russian roulette how far a new tire will make it. I think 13 laps as far as anybody ran before we had a problem. We were going to gamble. If we got inside 20, we were going for it. I guess we did.
Okay, we're going to talk to Rusty on the radio in just a minute here as they're going to try to roll the dice here again with brand new rubber. They think they can beat the strategy Harry Hyde has set aside for Schrader, keeping him out there on old tires.
I don't guess, Barry, how the tires were that come off just now.
Okay, well, Rusty obviously is communicating with Barry right now, so we'll not really eavesdrop on that conversation because it could be somewhat personal and might be advantageous to some other team that might be listening to our audio transmission of this race. So we'll hopefully talk to Rusty Wallace in just a moment. Boy, there is some interesting strategy being played out in there. You can see Kyle Petty's car, and the left side of that car is very badly damaged.
Yes, it is. He hit that, as we saw, the dent in the guardrail. He did hit it very hard, and then as you see the car, you can see how hard it really did hit.
That's the reason we are under the yellow flag. Now we'll try to talk to Rusty. Rusty, this is Bob. There's all kinds of strategies being played out here by many pit crews. Are you comfortable with where you are and what's going on right now?
Yeah, I'm about as safe as I can get right now, Bob. I'm sitting on some pretty good tires in a pretty good position. There's about 4 or 5 of the cars in front of me didn't stop for tires, so we'll see what happens. I don't know how tough Labonte is. I know he's pretty tough, and Earnhardt seems run pretty good for a while there. We'll see what happens there.
Rusty, have you been surprised at the way this race has gone? A lot of caution flags, a lot of tire problems. Was this what you were anticipating?
No, I sure wasn't. I wasn't anticipating that at all, but that's what's happening, and hopefully we'll get it fixed for this time. It's too bad it's the way the race has turned out the way it is with so many cautions, because I would like to see it a little better for the fans, but the cautions have played to my advantage so far today.
Thanks, Rusty. We'll see how things go here for you. Looks like you're getting the 1-lap signal. Now we'll take a look at our pit stop summary and see how drivers fared during their pit stops. There you can see Phil Parsons went in first and out 10th. Ken Schrader made a little bit of a move. Ricky Rudd moved up 3 spots, and Terry Labonte dropped 4.
Yes, he did. Of course, Ken Schrader did not make a pit stop, so he was running second when the caution came out. When Phil Parsons went into the pits, that put Schrader into the lead. But Phil, changing 4 tires, did drop back a little bit in the standing. Ricky Rudd did make a very good pit stop. Labonte taking on 4 tires as well, so that put him a little farther back in the pits.
All right, so in one more lap, we're going to be getting the green flag once again and go back to racing, and that will be lap number 73. We have had 8 leaders during this event, 11 lead changes. There are 8 cars out of the race, and 25 of the 40 that started are still on the lead lap. Larry Nuber is with Junior Johnson.
Well, Junior, at least one other competitor has said that you and Terry might be the car of the race. What do you think? Does he have some more left? Is he going to show us some more now?
Well, I think he's going to be right there amongst it. It'll be whoever shakes out with the best set of tires on this stop, because from here on, all of them should be able to make it. Their tires will be tore up at the end of it, but they should be able to make it.
Junior, what happens if there is a yellow flag, let's say 10 laps from the end? Do you think all the leaders can afford to come in, or is everybody going to stay out?
I don't think you can afford to come in. The only way you can afford to come in is you got a tire that has got a blisters around it, and you have to come in. You'd never get back to the front if you came in and started on the back, so you got to gamble.
Different strategy on a super speedway. A yellow flag 10 laps from the end, you have to come in, or you rob yourself your chance of taking a win.
All right, so that's the strategy that Junior Johnson sees to the finish of this race. By the way, because of the length of this event, and the race was run last year in 2 hours and 24 minutes, and we've been going about 2 hours and 30 minutes right now, and we've still got 18 more laps to go. So because of the length of this race, the Barber Saab competition that we were going to bring you in this time slot from Portland, Oregon, will be on at a later time. We urge you to watch your local listings for that. Look at the dirt and the grime and the whatever on the windshield of the Dale Jarrett car.
Well, they cleaned the left side. It's a little bit cleaner than the right side, Bob, but still, that's what a driver has to watch for. Now, Dale adjusting his rear view mirror. He knows that he's got some hot shoes on his bumper. Dale's in 5th place. He didn't make a pit stop here. That's Mike Alexander right in front of him. He's running in 4th place. So they would like to get themselves a top 5 or a top 10 finish here today.
And we look out the back windshield of that Dale Jarrett car, and we see Dale Earnhardt right on his back bumper. And Rusty Wallace then is right behind Dale. As we get set to go green, look at Dale Earnhardt take a shot and fail to get the pass made, but the green flag does come out, and here we go, and we'll watch the scramble for position. That's Terry Labonte on the left side of your screen trying to make a move. Schrader is the leader. Waltrip is second. Here comes Labonte, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Earnhardt running right together on the racetrack.
Earnhardt came out behind in that little group when he tried to make that pass on Dale Jarrett. He lost 2 positions instead of gaining 1.
Well, Rusty told us that he really doesn't know how strong Terry Labonte is, but he is getting a chance to see that right now. Here are the leaders. We have a lead change coming up. Waltrip and Ken Schrader go into the corner side by side. Let's see who comes out. Schrader drifts high, almost loses it, gathers it back in, and Darrell Waltrip has the lead. A great bold pass there by Darrell Waltrip. He's at the top of the field now with Ricky Rudd in 2nd position. The 3rd place car is Mike Alexander, and then Ken Schrader, who dropped to 4th. Boy, he almost spun.
He really did. He did a good job of holding that car. Once he got up there, what they call the marbles, there's a lot of loose stuff on the high side of the racetrack in that part of the track, and he was lucky to keep it from spinning around.
So now Darrell Waltrip has the lead of this race. And Darrell Waltrip is looking for win number 2 this year in 1988 Winston Cup competition. He won the World 600 at Charlotte. Here's a replay of how Waltrip got the lead.
Well, he was already on the inside of Ken Schrader as they went into turn number 5. He had the advantage going into the turn. Schrader tried to go in there as fast as Waltrip, got in a little too hard, went to the high side of the racetrack up in the loose stuff, but he was able to gather it back in, coming out 4th place.
Losing 2 positions, but nevertheless staying right up there in competition. Schrader right now is on the left, trying to make a move on Terry Labonte, but is unable to do so. And so Darrell Waltrip continues to lead.
Waltrip is certainly one of the better road racers.
Ricky Rudd is second, and Mark Martin has spun off course. Mark Martin, the number 6 Stroh light machine. He's got some damage there to the left rear of the car, indicating that he too has come in contact with the guardrail, but he's trying to get that car back on course.
Yeah, and it's not turning the way that it needs to. You can see the damage to the left rear of the car, and apparently there's damage to the front as well. Now he does get it headed back out, but you can see damage to the left front of the car as well.
And look at the action outside of Dale Jarrett's car. That's Bill Elliott who passes Dale Jarrett.
Dale, I think, got a little crossways right before that, and that left Bill Elliott, and now Rusty Wallace moves around. We have another car that has gone off course. That's the 88 car driven by Morgan Shepherd, right. Alan Kowicki, we understand, is also slid off course. So these guys are letting it all hang out here in the last 15 laps. We're at 75. Well, with 25 cars still in the lead lap, you got to go for it. You got to give it everything you have with not too many more laps to go, and some of them just overdid it.
Here comes Mark Martin in for a stop. They're going to be checking that car to see if they can get the body work pulled away from the tires that will allow Mark to get back there in competition. Jack Roush, of course, the owner of that team. The yellow flag is out again. There's oil on the racetrack.
So maybe that's why we saw so many cars going off the track over there, is that there was oil on the racetrack.
Another caution period slows the race. There you can see the yellow flag being displayed in the field. The yellow came out just as the cars were coming off corner number 7, so there's no real race to the yellow flag. Darrell Waltrip is still the leader, and Earnhardt pits.
Yes, he does. Evidently, he was not pleased with the way the car was working. Maybe he had a tire going down or whatever, but anyway, he decided to come into the pit. That put him at the back of the pack. The others stayed out there, excepting Harry Gant. Now, Harry Gant did come in. Of course, he perhaps needed to because he had not made pit stops earlier. He's changing the right side tires on his car. Earnhardt getting 4 tires on his car.
They continue to work on Dale's car, changing the rubber on the right side. Now let's take a look at an incident that Dale Jarrett was involved in just a few minutes ago.
Well, Dale, yeah, he does get a little bit crossways. Yeah, he really did get crossways. And
he could have come in contact with Sterling Marlin on that little incident, but anyway, Dale did a nice job of spinning halfway around but saving it, keeping the car headed in the right direction.
Here we see the damage on Mark Martin's car. The left front of that car really bashed in. There's damage to the left rear quarter panel as well. Harry Gant is right behind him, and they're working on that car. And let's go to Jerry Punch. He's there.
Well, they brought Harry Gant in, gentlemen, and they put the jack stand, and they looked beneath the rear of the car. It looked like something may have been dripping out of the rear of the car. We'll try to get a quick comment from Travis Carter, who's the crew chief for Harry Gant, and see if we can find out what the problem was. If they had the car up on jacks. Travis, what was the problem with the car? Was there something leaking from the rear?
Pulled the line off of it.
They pulled a line off the rear end of Gant's car, lost a little bit of fluid. They reattached it, and NASCAR was right here to watch them reattach it, and his car appears to be okay as he moves down pit road.
Well, maybe that's where the oil that was on the racetrack was coming from, and the reason that we have this caution.
Could very well be.
And if it is rear end or transmission grease, it is much slicker than the oil that comes out of the engine.
Probably much harder to get up off the racetrack also, so this could be a caution flag that lasts 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 laps. Well, this has been what I would call not necessarily a very fast-paced event. We have seen numerous caution flags that has really prevented the cars from racing all that much. A third of this event has been run under yellow. There's the damage to Sterling Marlin's car, and that could very well be the damage that was from Dale Jarrett's incident with Sterling.
Boy, he hit him a pretty good little lick there on that right rear quarter.
And we are still in Dale Jarrett's car, and he is still right behind Sterling Marlin. So they're mopping the oil up from various parts of the racetrack, and we are under caution once again at the Budweiser at the Glen. We are back at Watkins Glen International Raceway for the Budweiser at the Glen, and we remind you that the Canadian Open is coming up next here on ESPN, and the final matchup has Yvonne Lindell against Kevin Curran. So that's coming up right after our Budweiser at the Glen telecast. It could go a little bit over 4 o'clock, but we'll have our complete show of that Canadian Open right after the Budweiser at the Glen.
Well, let's see if we can reach Ricky Rudd on the radio, who's currently running in second place. Ricky, this is Ned Jarrett, ESPN booth. Do you read me? Ricky Rudd, do you read me?
Obviously cannot establish communication with Ricky, but he is in a very good position there, in second position to win his race, first race of the year. We'll try Rusty Wallace and see what's on his mind. Rusty, another caution. How have things gone since we talked to you last?
Well, I got that. That cost me about 3 positions. Me and Earnhardt got together in the front straightaway. That cost me about 2 positions. Now I just got to make it all back up. I got to pass all these slow cars in front of me. It's tough. I'm going to have to drive like you ain't believing. Keep your eyes open. Maybe you can see some driving.
Rusty, obviously there's a lot of oil in some sections of the racetrack. I guess there has been just about all afternoon, hasn't there?
Been a mess. Been a real mess.
Okay, Rusty, we'll let you go back to work as the caution remains out. Again, this is Rusty Wallace's birthday, so that's another reason why he would like to win this race. The yellow flag is going to remain out at least one more lap while they clean up the oil on this 2.4-mile racetrack. We are live at Watkins Glen, New York for the Budweiser at the Glen. They're the top 5 with 78 of 90 laps completed. Well, we are back at the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup car. And the lead is held by Darrell Waltrip. Second is Ricky Rudd. Third is Terry Labonte. Fourth is Mike Alexander. And fifth is Ken Schrader. Now, toward the end of this race, in fact, we are taking votes right now on who will be announcing as the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race. Goodyear will be giving $1,000 to the Grand National Racing Wives Association in that driver's name. And it's a tough choice, as it is at any Winston Cup event, because there are so many who do so well, and it doesn't necessarily go to the winner of the race, but somebody who has just performed well throughout the afternoon. And as I say, we are casting our votes now, and we'll have the results a little bit later in the show. Another lengthy caution period. We're not going to go green at least, I guess, 2 more times. Doyle Ford is showing us 2 more laps before we'll be getting that green flag and back to racing action. And that will be on lap number 80, so we'll have 10 laps to go when the green does come out. Let's go to Jerry Punch in the Harry Gant pit.
We might mention the reason for the lengthy caution flag here. We mentioned Harry Gant had lost one of the hoses on the rear end and lost a lot of fluid in that engine, that rear end. They went back out on the racetrack, and it began to pour out again and dumped a lot of rear end grease all around the racetrack. So Gant has since pulled that car into the garage area and called it a day. We are now being told that also another car, the Ernie Irvin car, number 2, down here is leaking as well, and so NASCAR is keeping it under yellow, and we'll try to get that grease stopped up as much as we can. There's Ernie Irvin's car, the car number 2. As Ernie makes his way to pit road, NASCAR has called that car in to have it checked out. DKO, which is the crew, will stand by and look at it. And they want that track nice and dry, speedy dry, and everything down before they turn them loose. So you know what's going to happen with about 8 or 9 laps to go.
You're absolutely right, Jerry. Apparently the yellow will be brought in and the green put out at lap number 80, and that would mean only 10 laps to go, and you can bet there's going to be a tremendous shootout for the lead. Let's go to Larry Newber, who has a report on the tires.
Oh, Bob, it's just very interesting. You know, so many times in a Winston Cup race, and most of the races that we've seen traditionally on TV until ESPN came along were on the super speedways. As I mentioned earlier, the idea was to get the freshest tires that you could on the car near the end of the race. But here today, because of everything that has happened, the strategy is completely different. Just about everyone is on used tires or some level of scuffed tires that were run in by another team or by the same team in practice before the race began today. The only exceptions to that rule, best we can tell, Rusty Wallace and Dale Earnhardt. Both of them, of course, had to come in on what you would call, I guess, emergency measures, but they have the newest tires of anybody on. It remains to be seen whether or not there will be an advantage or maybe a disadvantage today.
The cleanup continues. The yellow remains out, and while we are under caution condition and there is no racing on the track, we'll take another break and be right back for more of our live coverage here at Watkins Glen, New York. Later tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, ESPN's coverage of the NFL preseason continues. Should be a great game. Philadelphia against Pittsburgh. That's tonight at 8 o'clock live here on ESPN. Well, the votes have been cast by those assembled here in the broadcast organization of ESPN. And in our opinion, the Goodyear Eagle driver of the race is Darrell Waltrip. Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 in his name to the Grand National Racing Wives Association. A very good driver to a very good cause. The race is still not over yet. We've got 10 laps to go, and even though Darrell Waltrip may not win this race, we feel that because he started 11th, about 2 miles an hour off the pace of the qualifying top qualifying speed, and because he has overcome some flat tires and other problems during this race, he has hung in there well, and we think he deserves the honor. And Darrell Waltrip has 9 more laps to go, but could very well win this race. We asked him earlier in the weekend about things that he learns from one year that can be applied to the next.
Well, just, you know, I've been in this business a long time. I've been in long enough to know that nothing happens overnight. We just, you know, worked hard last year and actually accomplished probably more than it looked like we did, putting our team together. I think that it's really showing up this year, and the cars are better, the motors are better, the people are better. And next year in 1989, we're going to win it all.
So Darrell with a little bit of a prediction there for 1989, but right now he has this Watkins Glen race in 1988 to concern himself with. We'll be going back to green in just a few moments. Who do you think's going to win this race, Ned?
I'll tell you,
it's still a wide open situation. Rudd looks very impressive because Waltrip was not able to pull away from him, but Terry Labonte has run awfully well here today too, and so has Darrell Waltrip, but he really hasn't shown his hand as to how fast he can go because he's been back in the pack and in various situations, but he's a very good road racer. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to say the least.
And we have got 9 laps to go. The green flag comes out, and here we go with racing once again. Waltrip leads him down for a start. Rudd looking for a chance to take the lead into turn number 1. Waltrip will still have it, though, in turn 1. That's Terry Labonte in 3rd position.
Commented that our initial report was that Ricky Rudd was getting better tire wear than anyone. That could be a real factor in this race. I just checked with John Dangler of the Bernstein crew, and that's absolutely correct. They haven't changed tires the last 2 stops, and the only times they've changed all day long, they were just precaution. They never had to change once, and he is the only car that I have found on pit road that has been happening to all day long. He could be tough here in these final laps.
Well, Ricky Rudd has finished twice 2nd position this year, has not won a race. He was 2nd at Richmond on the short track and 2nd at North Wilkesboro on the short track. But Rudd is now in 2nd position and is right there with the leader, Darrell Waltrip. Terry Labonte is still in 3rd position. You can see that Rusty Wallace there, the 27 green and white car, has disposed of Ken Schrader and is moving up.
And Bob, as the green flag was coming out, Davey Allison made an unscheduled pit stop. He was running in the top 10. Now he's dropped all the way to the back of the pack.
Mike Alexander is having a good day in that Bobby Allison car. He's in 4th position. And Rusty Wallace has picked up another position, so he is marching toward the front. Bill Elliott now right ahead of him in car number 9. Rusty is in 6th. Oh, we have a car that got the rear end off the racetrack just a little bit. That's Bill Parsons, but that's pretty common, really. Cars sliding off momentarily and then getting back on.
It looked dramatic for a moment or two, and inside that cockpit it's pretty dramatic too, but once they get them straightened out, it's boy, that's close.
Darrell Waltrip, Ricky Rudd, a car off the track.
That looks like Davey Allison's car.
I think it's Herschel McGriff.
Yeah, okay.
The 04 car is off the track and has made contact. You know what this could mean. Another full course yellow. We'll look and see. Looks like the Doyle Ford is, grabbing the yellow, and we're going to have another slowdown. Our 8th caution period of the afternoon comes out. Unbelievable. These guys just have not had that much of an opportunity to race with each other, having to stop, slow down every now and then for a caution. In the race for the yellow, no positions change. It's still Waltrip, Rudd, and 3rd place Terry Labonte as they cross the stripe. Rusty Wallace tried to make a move there and pick up a position at the yellow flag. I don't know whether he did or not.
I don't think he was able to make the move. Of course, this track is very narrow, Bob. There's guardrails around almost all the way around the racetrack, and when a car gets off the track, it's still, it's subject to be hit by another race car, and so they have to bring out the caution. At Riverside, there's more open space there, and a car can spin off the track and be far out of harm's way, and they can continue. Now here's Herschel McGriff. He had his car underway, but he was stalled there for a moment, and the caution had to come out. It should be a quick yellow, though.
If he didn't put down any moisture on the racetrack, and if he didn't pick up too much dust on the track, this will be a short caution because the car will not have to be towed away as Herschel has gotten it going once again.
Somewhat of a break for Davey Allison. We mentioned that he made an unscheduled pit stop just as the green flag was coming out, so at least Davey will get to catch up to the back of the field before the green flag waves.
Let's look at how they're running as we watch the work on the Herschel McGriff car. The leader is Waltrip. Darrell, that is. Ricky Rudd is 2nd. 3rd is Labonte. 4th is the number 12 car driven by Mike Alexander. 5th is Bill Elliott. 6th, Rusty Wallace. 7th is Bill Parsons. Ken Schrader is in 8th. Richard Petty in 9th position. Dale Earnhardt is 10. The 11th spot goes to the number 29 car of Dale Jarrett, and in 12th spot is Bobby Hillen Jr.
And the crew chief on the Bobby Allison car that's being driven by Mike Alexander, Jimmy Finnick, has been named the TRW mechanic of the race. So Jimmy Finnick will win $1,000 TRW.
Despite all the caution periods that we have had, the attrition rate has not been all that much. As we started 40 cars in this race, and only 8 have dropped out. And there is the the Mike Alexander car. Miller Highlight Buick in his substitute role for Bobby Allison.
One of his better runs since he took over the wheel of that car.
The top 10, once again, Waltrip, Rudd, Labonte, Alexander, and Bill Elliott. 6 through 10 involve Rusty Wallace, Bill Parsons, Ken Schrader, Richard Petty, and Dale Earnhardt. Well, the caution is going to remain out at least one more lap. Well, we haven't had rain this afternoon. That's one good thing we could say. It rained hard here yesterday afternoon, and when we began this race, there was some real questions, at least in my mind, because the sky was darkening and it was looking like it was going to rain, but the sun has remained out for the most part, so we haven't had that to contend with, just a lot of caution periods. Lap 84 is completed, and we will continue with our coverage after these messages from Watkins Glen, New York. Stay with us. Back at Watkins Glen, next week we'll be in Brooklyn, Michigan for the Winston Cup race. 400-miler up there on the high banks. We're on the road course this weekend at Watkins Glen, and we are nearing the end of this race. We've completed 84 out of 90 laps, but we are under another caution period. This is our 8th caution of the afternoon, and we'll review for you once again the top 10 as they stand right now. Waltrip and Ricky Rudd are first and second, then Terry Labonte, Mike Alexander, Bill Elliott is 5th. 6th position, it's Rusty Wallace. 7th is Phil Parsons. 8th, Ken Schrader. 9th is Richard Petty. And 10th is Dale Earnhardt. There are 23 cars on the lead lap. Jimmy Finney, the race mechanic of this PRW mechanic of this race, watches his driver Mike Alexander in 4th position, and a smile from his face. He knows that Mike is having a really fine run. And there we see some damage there to the windshield of that Ken Schrader car. We'd like to remind you that the Canadian Open Tennis will be coming up immediately following this race. We have gone over 3:30. That was our scheduled time off the air. We're going a little past 4 o'clock, but do not worry. The Canadian Open will be on immediately after this race, and it shouldn't be too much longer because we'll have 5 laps to go when they come around this time. Terry Labonte, we understand, may be having a tire problem. Labonte is 3rd. What's the story, Larry?
Well, Bob, it actually came first from Bill Elliott, who was following Terry around the racetrack, and he thought that he spied a left rear tire. And, of course, at lower speeds, sometimes you don't always notice it as quick as you would at, say, 150 miles an hour. So Terry started paying attention to it, and apparently he agreed. And I just heard Junior talking to a NASCAR official trying to ascertain how long this yellow flag is going to be, which would give them, of course, an opportunity to come in and not lose any great lengths on the racetrack. Obviously, this is really going to cut into Terry's chances for victory here this afternoon.
Well, he's coming down pit road right now, and they're getting the signal, Larry, that the race will be restarted the next time around. And you're right, that'll put him way back in the field, and it is tough to pass on this track. Now let's go back to Larry Newman.
Well, here comes Terry coming to a stop. Of course, with the yellow flag, this will give them an opportunity to not make the stop leisurely, because you don't want to get out of the rhythm that you normally establish in a race, but this takes the pressure off. At least they don't have to come in under green flag. They're going to change the tires on all 4 sides. Again, we've used that word for precautionary reasons several times today, and for obviously very good reasons because of the events of today. The work is done on the left-hand side. Car got just a drink of fuel just to make certain that they had enough, and now they're going to the right-hand side, and they're giving Terry brand new tires all the way around. I did not get an opportunity to see when they put those tires on if they were scuffs or not, but I believe that they were, Ned, because as he was pulling away, I saw at least 2 different stagger marks on it. You know, they measure the tires every time they come in. I saw at least 2 different yellow figures on each tire.
It's got to be a bitter pill to swallow. 3rd, and now he's at the end of the line. So
20-some cars still in the lead lap.
Yeah, that is a tough race.
Only 4 laps to go.
That is, I guess, what they call racing, but boy, oh boy, you got to really talk to yourself about that one.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, as you say, but that's racing. So we're going to see some racing in the last 4 laps.
We sure are. This will complete lap number 86 when they come by, and at that time they will receive the green flag. It's anybody's race, literally. Waltrip is the leader. 2nd place is Ricky Rudd. And now 3rd is going to be Mike Alexander with the demise of Terry Labonte. Okay, we're going to pick the winners here. I'm going to say that Darrell Waltrip will win. Ed?
I'm going to say that Ricky Rudd.
Larry Newbert.
4 laps of green flag, Darrell Waltrip. Wait a minute.
Okay, Jerry?
No doubt about it. I think Darrell Waltrip will make it in the last 4 laps.
All right, well.
We'll see, I'm in the minority and probably wrong.
We'll see how things go here. But it should be a great shootout for the win. Maybe Mike Alexander could win this thing.
Who knows? I mean, you know, it's possible the front two might get tangled up, not taking anything away from the fact that he might have a car fast enough. He doesn't have as much road course experience as Waltrip and Rudd, but he's been doing a good job here today. But if they should happen to tangle just a little bit up front there, it could put him right in position to do it.
Well, Bobby Allison, we know that you're watching this afternoon and probably have a big smile on your face because your substitute driver has done extremely well here on this road course. He's third. Here comes the field off of corner number 7. To go, and the racing resumes.
Well, this is what it's all about as they head down into turn 1. Waltrip protects his position going in there.
Waltrip will win the race to the first corner. We've got a lot of passing going on here in the middle of the pack. That's Ken Schrader, Dale Jarrett, side by side with Bobby Hillin Jr. Look at this pack of cars. Every position is very important because of Winston Cup points.
Absolutely, because there's a break of 5 points down through 6 positions and 4 points from there on back. That's Bobby Hillin Jr. behind Dale Jarrett. And Richard Petty off the pace down on the inside. Petty was running in the 9th position, but he's off the pace.
Apparently a tire going down on the Richard Petty car, so he drops back. Ken Schrader may also be having a tire problem, we understand.
Well, we saw Dale Jarrett, Bobby Hill, and several others pass him there on the restart. Here are the leaders.
We go. Can Rudd pull off the pass here for the lead? I think he's got it. Rudd goes into the lead, passing Darrell Waltrip.
He made a good, smooth, slick pass. Waltrip certainly won't give up.
Here comes the shootout we've been talking about. Mike Alexander holds on to 3rd position. This is lap number 87. Is that smoke coming from Waltrip's car? It is indeed. A lot of smoke is coming from Darrell Waltrip's car. It may not be able to make it to the finish. Mike Alexander goes to 2nd. Here comes Rusty Wallace into 3rd, and Rusty is not out of this, but Darrell Waltrip is.
Well, will he bring out the yellow? I don't know if he's putting anything down on the racetrack or not. He's certainly putting a lot of smoke out there for the drivers coming up behind him. And the yellow, well, there's the black flag out because
the number 67 car, Braun Esau, is smoking badly also. You can see a trail of oil from outside that Darrell Waltrip car, so indeed there is some fluid being put down on the racetrack, but we do not see a caution flag in the hand of Darrell Ford. Now let's see what happens here for 2nd. Rusty's going for it. He's got 2nd position. Mike Alexander is back to 3rd, and Rusty Wallace could very well win this race.
Can I change my vote? I'll tell you, he has come up through there from nowhere. Of course, we have seen him run well all day long. One of the most aggressive drivers out here, but I'll tell you, Ricky Rudd is tough on a road course, and he might be able to hold Rusty off.
This time by, there will be 2 more laps to go, and what an afternoon Rusty Wallace has had. Here he comes off of corner number 7. I think he's going to get the lead from Ricky Rudd. Let's see if he does. They come down the front stretch, going into turn number 1. Rudd has the inside line. Rusty just cannot make the pass, and he stays in 2nd.
That's not the place to pass on this racetrack, not on the outside. If he'd been on the inside, that's okay, but Rudd was holding that inside line, and he's going to use that racetrack to his advantage. You can bet your bottom dollar.
So Rusty now looks for the setup that will put him around Ricky Rudd, but Rudd is doing a tremendous job holding off the challenge of Rusty. Here comes the rest of the field through turn number 3. Back up front we go. Rudd and Rusty Wallace are battling for position and the lead and the win. Next time by, it'll be the white flag. Bill Elliott is moving into 3rd position, passing Mike Alexander, and here comes Bill Parsons. As Parsons and Mike Alexander are side by side through the corner, and Mike a little bit sideways, but he saves it nicely.
I think he got nudged just a little bit by Bill Parsons. Here comes Dale Earnhardt running in 6th place, pulling up on that pack of cars.
Look at Rusty Wallace trying everything he can to pass Ricky Rudd and take the lead for the win. They're off of corner number 6. They head for turn number 7. Here's an attempted pass. Nope, Rusty thinks better of it. They come off with the 7th corner. The white flag is out. 1 more lap to go. Will it be Ricky Rudd, Rusty Wallace, Bill Elliott, or someone else that wins this race? Well, we had some slow-paced activity but certainly not now, as we are really battling for that win. Rusty is right on the back bumper of Ricky Rudd off of corner number 1, headed for 2.
And Rudd knows that he cannot make the slightest mistake. If he does, Rusty Wallace will stick the nose of that Pontiac in there. Again, Rudd very smooth.
We'll race down the backstretch now. Rusty Wallace looks to the inside of Ricky Rudd. They're separated by about a car length. Now Rusty begins to close in just a little bit. He looks to the outside of Ricky Rudd. Can't find the chance to pass. He's going to have to do it in turns number 6 or 7. If these guys tangle, Bill Elliott is right back there in 3rd position, seeing what's going on. Rusty will try to make a final move here. They come down through corner number 6 now. Rusty is going to have to make a move if he wins this race. I don't think he's going to do it.
I don't think he can do it either. Ricky Rudd is too smooth. He has the line that he wants. He's using the racetrack to his advantage. He was going to slow it down. That turn,
they bump. Here they come up the 7th corner. Who's going to win it? They're side by side. Rusty is well off the track. He cannot win it, and Ricky Rudd does. Unbelievable.
We knew it was going to be that kind of a race when the green flag flew again.
We have a crash. Davey Allison involved in a crash. Several cars have come together. And a car also spinning off course. Maybe some oil. That's Ernie Irwin that slid off course. It's the car pointed in the right direction and takes off again.
Dale Jarrett is fun over there somewhere. He was late to get back, and Ricky Wilson also was in a crash. He came across the start-finish line. So was Brett Bodine. He was involved, so a big car crash.
Well, here it is again. Rick Wilson with some major body damage to that car, and we'll see how it all happened. He's hit by Terry Labonte.
Yes, he is, and Labonte goes around, and there's Davey Allison going around, and Brett Bodine gets in it in the car number 15.
So a melee there on the final lap that causes several cars to come together. But the story is Ricky Rudd, who has won the Budweiser at the Glen, holding off the enormous challenge of Rusty Wallace. Coming through corner number 7, Rusty got all 4 tires off the racetrack. He was in the grass, but he did hang on to 2nd, just couldn't find the opportunity to pass Ricky Rudd, and Rudd wins.
He certainly gave it that old college try. He did everything that he possibly can, but Ricky Rudd was using the racetrack to his advantage, and that's what he's supposed to do when he's up front.
This will be the 9th win of his Winston Cup career. Now, this is where Ricky Rudd grabbed the lead from Darrell Waltrip just a few laps ago.
Waltrip's car had begun to smoke a little bit at that point. He pulled down to the inside, or pulled to the outside, I guess it would be, as they go into a turn, and Rudd takes the lead, and you can see the smoke from Waltrip's car becoming a little bit.
And now the finish of the race as everybody came through corner 7. Look at Rusty Wallace get completely off the racetrack. The car is sideways. He gathers it in, however, and finishes 2nd, but Ricky Rudd wins the race. And now the crash that occurred on the final lap, and this is from Dale Jarrett's in-car camera, the Hardee's race cam.
Okay, Sterling Marlin up behind Jarrett, and it looks like he hit Jarrett, and the car number 8 of Bobby Hillen spins around. You can see Jarrett going in every direction, but I don't believe he went around.
He did a 360, I believe, and kept on going. There is a view from outside as Darrell Waltrip is behind Ricky Rudd at this point. This was obviously earlier.
After Rudd had taken the lead.
But the story is that Ricky Rudd wins his first Winston Cup race of 1988 and his 9th career victory. This was his 312th start in Winston Cup competition. Well, the Budweiser at the Glen has been brought to you by Pontiac Grand Prix, the 1988 Motor Trend Car of the Year. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By General Motors Parts and your local GM dealer. And by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. And we will be back to talk with a very happy Ricky Rudd, who wins the Budweiser at the Glen after this. It's over. Ricky Rudd wins his first Winston Cup race of 1988, and our Winner's Circle interview is being brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. Let's go to victory lane.
Ricky, a fabulous run this afternoon. Congratulations. And tell us about those last couple laps. They were pretty wild.
Well, they really were, Jerry. I tell you, the Quaker State team did a great job all day. You know, these guys have been plugging along for a couple of years and been right there every year. But I tell you, they've been ready to win for a long time. We've had some misfortunes during the year, but these guys are here to stay. But that last 3 laps, I tell you, that was something else. I saw Rusty coming. I saw Darrell. I was setting Darrell up. I was going to get him in turn 1 with about 3 laps to go. I was going to outbrake him. Then he developed some kind of a problem. I don't know what happened to him. But then here come Rusty, and he was coming hard. And I was mirror driving, just trying to block him. We were a little bit lazy coming on to the front straightaway. I knew where he was going to make his run because he showed me a couple laps before that, and I just blocked his line, and he ran into my back bumper, turned me sideways, and he got in the dirt, tried to pass me on the outside. It was really something.
Quite a finish. A number of teams had tire problems, but your car all day long had good tire wear.
Well, we had a very fast car from the very beginning, and I thought we had a flat tire early in the race, and I dove into pits, and we went all the way, changed 4 tires, went all the way to the end of the field, came back up through there, and Larry McReynolds and all the guys on the Quaker State team did a great job calling race strategy. That's what it was all about today. There were several cars that probably could have won this race, but you had to be there at the right place at the right time, and track position lined up for us perfect at the end of that race, and we were able to go. And plus, we had an awful good car today and a good motor.
Giving credit to the crew. Ricky Rudd, 31 years of age, his first win in 23 races, and the first win for the Bernstein team in 3 years of operation. Congratulations, Ricky.
Something to Kenny. I know he's probably watching. Hey, buddy, we're going to do it again.
Kenny Bernstein, car owner, not here today, but watching on ESPN.
All right, and Ricky's victory makes the point standings look like this. Rusty Wallace, who finished second, still has a lead over Bill Elliott, but boy, look how close it is. Elliott 26.87 to Wallace's 26.93, and Dale Earnhardt is third in the point standings with 2,635 points. And again, a reminder, we have tennis coming up next here on ESPN, the Canadian Open, the NFL, the Steelers, and the Philadelphia Eagles tonight at 8 o'clock live on ESPN. We'll be in Brooklyn, Michigan at Michigan International Speedway next Sunday for more of this great Winston Cup competition. Our thanks to Hardee's for providing in-car camera coverage. We hope you've enjoyed today's telecast of the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. And my thanks to Ned Jarrett and Dr. Jerry Punch and Larry Newber for their help in the pit area. Once again, in a tremendous race, Ricky Rudd holds off the challenge of Rusty Wallace and wins the Budweiser at the Glen. So we'll see you on Speed Week at 7:30 Thursday night Eastern Time and at Michigan International Speedway next week. For now, Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.